Chapter 242, Kagramez Ruins. The 5,000 votes extra that was promised. Sorry for being late. Ladies and gentlemen, we made it again. Me? Shut up. Alina. Gold slide. Joel. No way. Wolf. All that is gold. Again? Jorna. What lied to us at the end of Faldthar's was another pile of gold like the one we took from Hackner Deathbrand's tomb. Maybe a bit smaller, but it was all dwarven gold coins which have a large price compared to the old Nordic ones. Look at these dwarven swords. John, you're a real gold digger. I know. We uncovered 2 treasures in 4 days. What are the chances? Unless I know beforehand, but I don't hide it, so they don't believe it. Smart, right? John, compared to our wealth in Winterhold, this Alina said. This needs us to expand our vault at least 3 times if we added it to the other gold in the cube. I was saying, shouldn't we be a bit modest with our luck? Nope. Good, I feel less guilty now. We started hoarding all that gold into the cube again. As we finished with the gold, there were artifacts. I started sorting them by the quality and the enchantments. They were mostly not enchanted and got stored in their respective sections in the cube's main space. We actually have a large armory in there. The enchanted ones were mostly staves and some swords with minor enhancements, but the most important thing here was the visage of Mzund. Wolf put this on. Wolfer took the helm in his hands and felt its weight. It is massive. I know, right? It was a large helm that covered all the head. Its appearance was unique as it carried that face which the Dwemer always make for their dwarven centurions. Check Legacy of the Dragonborn mod. The appearance was fearsome and cool at the same time. Try to blow out a strong breath. No, not my direction. Wolfer did as I said. He inhaled from his nose and exhaled a strong breath. With his head in the visage, he let out a strong breath that turned into the same steam once it got out of the visage. Fuck, what was that? He freaked out. Amazing, right? He took off the visage and took his breath. This is awesome. I can't do a Thursday like you, but this is crazy. Of course. But you need to drink water after each use unless your ability gets enhanced. If you keep training on the meditation technique I gave you, you'll be able to do it again and again. Awesome. Wolfer is all about stamina. His power and speed were admirable, but his endurance is something else. I tweaked the meditation technique I gave him so that his stamina and vitality become stronger. Actually, his training is showing more effect than mine and Alina's. He can already carry things I can't carry with my aura enforcing me. John, do you know what is the perfect use for this visage? MHM, asterisk 5 minutes later. Star. In a tiny space inside the cube, Wolfer and I sat down with only towels around our waists. He drank some water, then put the visage on and exhaled a strong steam. Sauna. This guy thought of that on his own. I'm really proud. We finally have a sauna by utilizing one of the magical artifacts left behind by a long-lost race of elves. Sounds like the right use to me. Visage of Mzund. The wearer has more stamina, and by exhaling strongly, the visage will let out a steam breath attack called Breath of Inchwak. We left Faldthar's and headed south to Kagramez. From the name, one can understand that it is another dwarven ruin, and like Faldthar's, it is a trial ruin. Seems like the dwarves of Solstheim were quite the energetic bunch. In front of the ruin site, a woman in fit tight black armor under a black cloak was standing there. Beside her was a Storm Atronak horse. This was a dark elf from Team Zero, my bodyguards and secret intelligence who take direct orders from only me as the boss and Jelener as their captain. Boss, captain. Anya, I trust you have what John needs. Jelener started bossing around. Of course, Captain. Here are all the stones. John, are these what you want? Yes, they fit the description. Good job, Anya. Thank you, boss. Anything out of the ordinary? No. Fort Frostmoth is completely guarded, and we are about to get done with receiving all the shipments. Fine. Tell Angium to start loading the ship and make the departing arrangements. We will finish up in a week. Yes, boss. She took the order and rode away. Team Zero had a lot of Dunmare and Khajiit, but it is mainly made of Nords. The Dunmare were the refugees that became citizens in Winterhold and the Khajiit are the ones I tested myself. Khajiit, orcs, and Argonians are mostly not allowed to go into the cities due to xenophobic reasons, even in Winterhold, but I tend to look for the people with talent and quality. Each person has their kind of problems, and what I do is to solve these problems for them and use them as my people for repayment. Khajiit love free-spirited, easy jobs, so I offer them good work conditions, and Dunmare won't be seen equal with Nords, so I offer them dignity. The atmosphere in Winterhold was a bit awkward, but as long as everyone is kept busy in their work, they won't remember that they're different races altogether, especially if their line of work is doing shady business like in Team Zero. Anyway, it was the time to delve into Kagramez. Kagramez is an ancient arena that the Dwemer utilized to make people and machines fight, so it was going to be fun as long as one doesn't get hurt. The ruins were also built so we have to go down the stairs, then use the elevator in the middle of the ruins. The dwarves used elevators like these in mostly everything they built. We descended underground again and found ourselves in a storeroom-like place. There were all kinds of broken dwarven machines and metal bars. Wolfer and I didn't let one thing in place and hoarded everything, even the shelves, because they're big and also made of dwarven metal. Anyway, as we finished, we kept going down a stairway, and we didn't come across any hostile dwarven machine. As soon as the stairway ended, we arrived at an open space with a central platform and also a lot of surrounding high ones. This was the arena I mentioned before. On the central platform, there was a pedestal with a 3x3 grid. Each point was a socket that would fit something inside. "So, what now?" they asked. "Look at that gate." I pointed to the gate in the east. "Let's check it out first." As I showed them the gate, we found another 3x3 grid with the points highlighted. The middle left and the bottom right, I said, and went back to the pedestal. "Now show me what Anya brought." I took the small box from Jelinek, and inside it there were 9 crystal stones in it. These were known as the resonant stones. Each one would fit on any socket in the pedestal grid. "Okay, get ready," I said, and placed 2 resonant stones. Once I did so, a cage rose from the ground and surrounded all of us. "John, I know, don't panic. We can teleport out if things went bad." The cage held up for a while, then went down. The walls around the arena started to move, and we could hear some machines walking on them. With that, the first round of the fight for survival began. We formed a circle formation, all with weapons in hand. From the platforms on top, Dwarven Spider started jumping down, and they were followed by Dwarven Ballistas. "Go for it," I shouted, and we charged each to his fancy. What met me was a Dwarven Sphere. It also rooshed at me, but avoided attacking directly and tried to make a circle and shoot me with its crossbow, but I wouldn't let it go that easily. Parkour was still in my blood, and I avoided each bolted shot at me, finally reaching it and performing a Superman punch with my free hand that had a Thunder Cookie spell charged. My alarm spell sensed danger, and I avoided right away as there was a Dwarven Ballista shooting at me while keeping its distance. "No, you won't." Before it shoots another one, I used Electro Hand, grabbed it with my Lightning Hand all the way over me, and slammed it on the ground to pieces. Each one of us was going with his or her style, as it would be bad if we centered ourselves in one place and got all shot at. Jull used her crossbow to shoot down all the ones that came towards her. Wolf and Jorna waved their large hammers idiotically. Nefertiti took a liking on a big steel axe, and using her work hat for. She looked super deadly, my lady fair. Alina was using a mace and a magic. Finally, the awesome me was magic and unarmed combat. It was fun, but the Dwarven machines were kinda unending until we finally finished our first round. "I'm so tired." Joel sat down, catching for breath. Yes, the dwarves indeed has a lot of metal to spare. Jorna sat beside her in worse condition. We started healing each other, and I focused on Nefertiti, who really hurt herself. "Want to go back and have a nap?" "No." "Want to eat something?" "No." "Want to destroy some machines?" I said and tickled her chin. Her, yes. She was larger than her normal cute self, but she was still the little devil who would purr whenever she gets tickled. But this time, she was carrying a large axe and very happy with it. She even switched to her human form and waved the axe a few times, then went back again to the work cat form, deciding it was better that way. Anyway, I am happy that she found something interesting. Let's see the gate. We went to the gate again and found it open this time. Behind it, there was a corridor that led us to another storeroom that we started looting. Human, that lever. Oh yes, that. Wolf, come here. There was a lever, and behind it was a metal wall. Once we used the lever, the door moved down and Dwarven Spider appeared behind it. Whoa! I stopped everyone from blowing it to pieces. What? This thing is not hostile. It is friendly. What? A friendly machine? Wolfer, go try it. Really? Yeah, go. He nodded with a smile and went forward towards the Dwarven Spider. Hey, you seem friendly. Wolfer talked to the Dwarven Spider. The spider let out steam as a response. Oh, follow me then. I'll call you Spidey. Nice naming, Wolf. Oh boy, why do boys love strange things? It seemed that the team had some conflicting opinions about a Dwarven Spider coming with, so we stored it in the cube in order to sort out things in there. There is no way would let such a study subject go to waste. We then took the pattern for the next round's grid and went out to place the stones on the pedestal. This round had fire traps all over the place, and we got burned a few times, but we managed to fend off the horde of machines. Its reward was an access to another storeroom and a Dwarven sphere that Wolfer took too. He would go insane about anything Dwarven. The third round was full of lightning traps, and the floor got submerged with water, so it was too deadly to move around a lot, else we would get electrified. Still, that didn't stop us from levitating or teleporting or merging with our own shadows. It was a hairy third round, but we passed it. This was the last round, and we got access to the final storeroom, and there was a unique artifact waiting for us. This is for you, Jelliner. For me? She didn't receive a lot like Alina, but she always boasted about getting the Ring of Arcana. This time, I wanted to give her this amazing bow. It is the Dwarven Black Bow of Fate. Each arrow fired from it can drain the target's life force and magicka, and the shooter would absorb them. This elegant black bow was much like Alina's Blood Scythe and Soul Render. A worthy bow for a worthy shooter. Chapter 243, Bloodskull 1, Raven Rock Mine. Extra Chapter, every plus $10 patron or PayPal. Extra Chapter, 8,000 votes. As we returned to Raven Rock to sort out our stuff and sell the items we don't need, we started to prepare for the final dungeon we are delving in. That was none other than Raven Rock's mine. Still, before that we had to prepare a lot. The girls were not ready to go on another dungeon for the next 2 days at least, and I also wanted to laze around for 2 days. Being ahead of schedule sure feels good. I started to meditate and perfect the technique more. I also was studying some ways regarding the magic of the Psijic Order, and I almost figured out some aspects regarding the archetype of time, one of the most mysterious magics of all time. To cast magic is to understand its archetypes fully and apply them on a magic circle. All mages can make their magic circle appear during the casting, and it is not something strange or wrong, but some people has their own spells that showing of their circles may give their secrets out, so only new learners as magic circles in the open before they start hiding it. In the center of any magic circle, there's always one or several central runes which refer to the main archetype of the magic. For example, most of central runes of the destruction magic always starts with the equivalent of the letter K in the magic script alphabet. This alphabet was seen in the game many times by the player on the black books. There were other forms of magical runes, of course, like the dragon runes and the Daedric runes, but they were used for their respective subjects like the Thursdayum and the Daedric arts. See the article about the magic script alphabet in the wiki and the ESP wiki. Anyway, reading the magic script alphabet is essential to any mage, and each and everyone must know how to do it for the sake of casting magic. It doesn't matter if you can understand it or not, but at least have proper knowledge of the common runes. Some runes construct the central runes of any magic circle, and they are essential for the main archetype to manifest in the spell, and some runes are for the control archetypes that reshape the main into a proper spell. It takes a few days of training to be able to apply it, but it is not as hard as it sounds. The problem now with the time archetype is its usage of not-so-common runes from the magic script alphabet. There are those 4 runes that mostly don't get used in magic most often, Actually, I would say that only a few people use them, and no one else bothered studying them. These ones are the equivalents of Q, 10, 1, and 2. Q and X are necessary to use the time archetype, but X also can be used in the space archetype, which makes nothing easy. Space and time are like Lorcan and Oriel, Podomic energy and Anuic energy. If something mutual between them appeared, it would be strange and hard to understand. That is why I can't understand the time magic on my own using the principles of space magic. That is also why mysticism is the coolest school of magic, and the only one I see worthy to rule the other schools. As each school of magic has certain archetypes for their respective practices and spell, the mysticism has the hardest of all of them. The archetypes of the mysticism are outer energy, magica, inner energy, soul, limits, space, no limits, time, reading the space, detection, reading the time, divination. I have a good understanding regarding magica, space, and detection, while soul, time, and divination are a bit of a hurdle. Narina said that there are more archetypes to that, and the Sijic monks can control weather and nature, but I shouted, "Give me a break," and ran away. I am a nerd, but not at her level of nerd yet. Truth be told, if we started tracing everything back to its source, we will arrive at the school of mysticism, and everything will be just big plain dumbness. That is why I wrote my ideas about the one school theory. Sigh, what a pain. I closed my notes and lied on the bed, but somehow my head dragged itself back to thinking. Why are there runes 4, 1, and 2? What can they be used for? This was a million septim question, which even Narina doesn't know its answer. I forced myself out of overthinking by pouring some cold water on my face and going out of my room. As I roamed Raven Rock in the afternoon, I started greeting the people I made friends with in the town. One particular person I was looking for was the foreman of closed mine of Raven Rock. That was Cretius Corellius. Asking Glover about him led me straight to the mine. I found the old man sitting in front of the mine, polishing his mining tools. "I trust that you are Cretius Corellius. Who in the blazes are you? Can't you see I'm busy? My name is John Dare. I am the owl." "Oh, the traders that came from the mainland?" "Yes, that is me." I offered the old man a handshake, but he looked away with a snort. This man is around 80 years old, so I'm not going to cause him trouble anyway. "Isn't it dangerous here for an old man like yourself?" "Humph. Listen to yourself. When I was your age, boy, I could shatter rocks with my bare fist. Now, as I am at this age, most of the folks around here would talk like you. But mark my words, these mines hold a secret that could put Raven Rock back on the map once again, and I can bet my old bones on it." "What sort of secret would that be, I wonder?" "A secret the East Empire Company swept under the rug 2 centuries ago. It killed my great-grandfather and left Raven Rock with a worthless and tainted mine. My great-grandfather Gratian Corellius. He spent his entire life exploring ancient ruins across Tamriel, and he died in these very mines almost 200 years ago. The East Empire Company called it a terrible accident, claiming that he was lost in rockfall, but I know better. Figures I was dealing with these bastards long enough to tell, but how do you know they are hiding something? My wife and I were cleaning out our home, and we came across some of my great-grandfather's things locked in an old chest. I found an unsent letter he'd written to the East Empire Company and a key. The letter describes a discovery that was made in the mine by some of the diggers. They wanted Gratian to take a closer look. The East Empire Company must have felt it was of great value, as they locked that section of the mine off from everyone else. Did you take a look, you crazy boy? How can an old man like myself explore the uncharted parts of the mine? I see. Truth be told, it sounded a bit crazy. Sigh, just like how everyone else said. But when there is smoke, there is fire. The matter kind of sounds suspicious. Finally, someone who believes me. The old man seemed pleased that I said so. I'm telling you, there's something big down there, something that the East Empire Company wanted to hide from everyone. Still, why did you tell me all of that? Hee, boy. I listened to the rumors, and I heard that the merchant known as John Dare is roaming Solstheim looking for some treasure. Many people are keeping a close eye on you, especially that idiot Fethus Alor. He thinks that if he reports what you find to the East Empire Company, The wood reward him when if they get back to Raven Rock. Damned fool. Yeah, I know about him. My people are doing a good job. After all, I even know who is in secret relationship with who in this town by now. Dark elves are so messed up when it comes to romantic affairs anyway. Anyway, time's my enemy. Old age caught up with me before I could find the answers that I'm looking for. And here's where I come in. Indeed, I was hoping an explorer can help me. I want to know what happened to my great-grandfather and what the East Empire Company is keeping from all of us. It is all working out well this way. Fine, you got me interested. Any idea where to start? Gratian kept a journal of notes about his discoveries. If you can find his remains, I'm hoping it will help. Here's everything I have. The letter, the key. Please, do this for me, so I can finally regain the respect that I've lost. I took what the old man offered me and skimmed through everything. This is good, very good. Old man, let me go bring my team. It didn't take me a lot to drag Wolfer and the rest all the way to the mines. This will be the last place we delve into in Raven Rock, the most important part in our journey and the finale of Phase 3. The mines. They seem to be underwhelmed. I know it looks like me fooling around, but this is company business. I'm not bringing you around as your bro John. I'm dragging you here as your boss. Now back to shape. My words were not that inspiring, but they had to listen in the end. With things like that, we finally set foot in the mine. Chapter 244, Bloodskull 2, Blade and Aura. The novel is a bit short on votes. We were at 13 yesterday, and now we are at 20. Extra chapter, every plus $10, patron or PayPal. Extra chapter, 5,000 votes. Extra chapter, 8,000 votes. Raven Rock Mine is a derelict ebony mine located in the most northern part of Raven Rock. It was owned by the East Empire Company before the ebony eventually dried up and they abandoned Raven Rock. In reality, the miners once broke into an old tomb, also known as Bloodskull Barrow. They managed to wake up the Draugr in the crypt, and most of them, if not all, were killed. The East Empire Company sealed this part of the mine and closed the whole of it with the excuse that the mine was dried up. John and his team entered the old mine and moved through the wooden platforms that was going through the pit-like mine. It wasn't long until they found themselves in front of some frostbite spiders. These are some giant arachnids which attack anything on sight and can be found both in the wilderness and in dungeons. Their size could be as big as a bear and sometimes bigger. John and Jelliner met them a few times in their travels before, but the rest were still having it for the first time. The impact that the spiders left on their mindset was a bit too much for them. These things are going to leave me with nightmares. Yeah, look at that hair on their back and legs. Come on, guys. They're cute. Jelliner seemed to be okay with it, though. The team moved through the tunnels of the mine, going in a curved way down to the lowest part. There, they found a locked gate made of steel bars, and behind it was the main area of the mine. You smell that? Ebony. Alina said. You can smell ebony? Wolfer looked at her with a taken-aback smile. Ebony is the crystallized blood of gods. All the ebony in Skyrim came from the heart of Shore, so a child of kind like Alina would surely be sensitive to it. Jorna said. Oh, I see. Wolfer nodded. Also, the Moonblade have an ebony mine, so I'm very familiar with it. Alina added up. It's cute and all, but look at that. As they passed the mine, Jelliner discovered something across the mine and pointed it out. There was a big collapse site, and there was a hidden open in the wall behind it. So that's it, huh? John realized it. What is that about? You see, when I took the job from the foreman, he told me that the miners brought down some wall that opened to an ancient Nordic ruin. Draugrs came out from it and attacked the miners badly. Once the East Empire Company found out, they sent out the best explorer in Solstheim with a group of men to explore the area, and they never returned to the East Empire Company, decided it is not worth it if it is that dangerous. This in front of us is the entrance to the Nordic ruins. John pointed at the opening in a wall and stepped towards it. Wait, you said the East Empire Company's people couldn't do it. You think we can? Jorna said. It is going to be challenging, but I have my trust in all of us, cousin. Remember to watch for traps carefully this time, and use short weapons. The place is tight, and large weapons like great swords will get in everyone's way. Roger. Jelliner switched to a sword right away. As all of them switched to maces, which is the most effective weapon against undead dragons, John started conjuring undead to act as scouts once again and commanded them to get in the ancient Nordic ruins. Just as the scouts entered, enemies appeared. Oh, that's fast. Those undead are sure lively. There was not much time to waste, and the team started walking carefully in the ruins, anticipating a real fight. Time passed, and the place was really hard to proceed through. In every corner there were draugrs, and they were truly relentless. John broke 2 maces during his fight alone and had to use magic to end it. He was mostly saving some of his power for detecting around the traps and for the final fights and emergencies, but it wasn't really working out well. John had to take a trap for Jelliner, who activated it without noticing. His arm was full with poison needles that came from the wall nearby. After resting for a while and drinking some poison antidote, John started to hallucinate a bit. He turned to normal an hour later. "Did I do anything embarrassing?" he asked. "No, not at all. Alina just was worried about you when she put her hand on your forehead. She said he is so hot. Then you woke up and said, 'Title your sex book,' and collapsed again." Jelliner laughed out loud as she said so. John looked at Alina with a frightened face, but she was looking away. Oh boy. His head almost blanked out, but he managed to keep it together. "Okay, let's just keep going forward. This is our second day in this ruins, so I hope you all took a good rest." "Yes, we did." "Okay, forwards again." The exploring this time took a bit longer, and the enemies were a bit tougher. Wolfer and John found a Stalrum deposit in the barrow and mined it. After that, the team managed to break through the ancient draugrs and arrived at something bizarre. John was at the end of a tunnel overseeing a large room. He simply jumped down from the tunnel's end and stepped into the room, followed by his group. "Can we go back after this?" "Yes, we can teleport out, but we are still going forward." "Forward where?" "There's no way out here." "No, there is." John walked into the room and arrived at some old skeletal remains of 2 long dead men. "This is Crescius's grandfather, the one who led the exploration into Raven Rock mines, and that is what I was looking for." John walked forward and picked something from beside the skeletal remains. It was a sword made of dark and red metal. It gave a hint of silver, but there was more. John obviously knew about the weapon, and it was one of the main things he was looking for. The Bloodskull Blade, an ancient Nordic artifact. In appearance, it is an enchanted silver long sword decorated with red markings, but the enchantment in the sword made it feel strange. John also knew about it and was very excited to study it. He was eager to try it as he wielded right away in one hand, and it fitted him perfectly. John has a large body, so if he used a long sword in one hand, it wouldn't be any different from using a one-handed arming sword or an imperial gladius. John didn't wait anymore and focused his all on the sword, then made a strong wave at the far cave wall. Without any introductions, the Bloodskull Blade unleashed a red ribbon of mystical energy that flew directly at the cave's wall and struck it hard. As the clash effect faded, there was a mark on the faraway wall. Awesome. He could suppress his curiosity no more and ran towards the wall to check it out and feel the energy traces from the red energy ribbon of the Bloodskull sword. He wanted to understand the enchantment, but it was more unusual than he thought it would be. It felt like more of a natural power rather than enchantment. If I try to compare it with anything I know, it would be the aura art. It means that this sword has an aura on its own, or it has some sort of mystical enchantment. Something like it was imbued armament's magic, or maybe it is that. John started thinking to himself. He thought of it deeply, but he only could remember one thing about that subject. In history and lore, there was no art that can make the magical items magical except enchanting, but imbuing weapons with energy is a secret art. John started remembering such examples. 2 of them he saw being performed by his father Johnrad. He once showed John a Dragon Knight skill called Searing Strike. The sword literally launched the short-range fire attacks that hit the target a few meters away. The second skill was Molten Weapon, that made Johnrad's sword get infused with a strong wave of energy that made it as if it is a sword of lava. These were two skills from Jonrad's arsenal that really impressed John, but he knew that Jonrad's battle spirit art, or aura, was on a completely different level from normal people. The other person who could do the same with a frost aura was Sigurd Moonblade, Alina's father. The other example was easier for John to figure out, but hard to figure out on his own. That was a spell that he read about that is called Imbued Weapon. This spell was created by the monks of the Sigic Order, the masters of mysticism from the Isle of Artium. These people had a secret art that can infuse magicka with a normal weapon to make it show an effect, either to empower it or make it launch elemental attacks. This Imbue Weapons spell was the basis that the non-Sigic mystics created Soulfire, one of John's favorite spells from. Soulfire, too, can imbue weapons with magic, but only enchanted weapons, as they use the magical veins inside the enchanted item to channel the energy. The possibilities of these ideas were limitless. The Bloodskull Blade gave John enlightenment in both aura and imbuing items. He understood that aura is an energy combined with a nature. The magicka, too, was also an energy that comes from one spirit, but where is the link? What if I linked the aura and my magicka together? This idea popped into John's head, and he was not going to hold it back anymore. He unleashed his aura the shone with green effect around him. This is the madness aura that he likes the most, and started to apply Soulfire on it. It was different than anything, but the aura was a bit hard to harness and link it with magicka. The reason because the aura had more freedom than magicka. In terms of usage, it needed a catalyst. Something strong, something wild. John could arrive to the answer right away. He felt his own magicka pool, and sensed the energy that he left for later to meditate with it. There was some of it still left, and it was under his control. Without thinking, he linked that Padamic energy with his magicka, and his magicka with the aura right away. Changes happened to his aura. The green color of his aura started to become darker and heavier. It left no trace of green and started to move around in dark yet unrecognizable grades of color. It started to change again, and John felt he was losing control of it. He added the catalyst, but it made it too wild. He now wanted a medium to control that aura. He didn't have to look too far. It was in his hand all the time. John gripped the Bloodskull Blade firmly with his two hands and rested its tip on the ground, then started to put himself in a meditative state to gain control over his energies. It didn't take long. His aura started settling once again and took color, a new color different than the usual green. It was red. Red aura similar to that bloody aura of Hilda, but it was different. There was no bloodlust or berserking feeling to it. There was dominance, complete utter dominance, superiority, highness, majesty, all the haughtiness in the world. It was power, a power that gathered all the concepts of what power should be. It can drive people to madness. It can make them kneel. It can affect both physically and mentally. It can take forms and do harm. Nothing felt more complete. The red layer of aura around John gave off this nature that John liked more. He indeed loved to overwhelm his enemies, but this was another step on that path. This was the power he needed the most. He held the sword up once again and waved it one more time. The red ribbon of energy was unleashed, but it was bigger, faster, stronger, and far more powerful than anything else. Once it landed, it cleaved through the cave's wall. It didn't leave the same pathetic mark from before, but it tore the wall as if a dragon marked it with its claw. That power was comparable to an expert-level spell. Its casting time was short, way too short. John didn't stop here. He made his aura take a physical form on his left hand. It was simply a spear. With a simple command, the spear dived into the wall of the cave and left another mark once again. John wasn't shocked, or rather he couldn't be shocked. His aura led him to a new realm of thinking. He was not controlling power, but power was controlling him. Will this be all right? He thought. Deep down, he realized that he was losing control, but he loved it. Freedom felt good. He felt like he could do anything, but he started to feel afraid of himself. Too much power with a weak control over it, it would lead to a disaster. He tried to hold back his aura, but it was too powerful and imposing, not listening even to him. Power has its own pride after all. If he could be just a little bit stronger, just one bit stronger. He was about to be desperate, but a helping hand came in time. It was none of his companions following after him. These 5 were completely in a silent and frozen state. The ironic thing about this helping hand that it was his own left hand. It moved on its own and cast a lightning strike spell towards himself. It was acting on its own. John was not commanding it, but the left hand was acting as if it had a mind of its own. John felt the pain vividly, and his aura retreated back right away. Pale-faced, he fell on his but catching his breath. Despite being out of breath, he felt that his mouth and skin were all dry. Not only him who was having a hard, John felt 5 thuds behind himself and looked at it right away. It was his 5 companions who were following him. They all looked as if they were experiencing something terrifying. Oh boy, I am so sorry. John realized that his aura affected them badly. They were on the wrong side of the cannon. It took them all a few minutes to calm down. John, that was... Are you? Alina murmured. No need to talk now, rest first. Long story short, my aura advanced, and I almost lost control over it. I was too weak to do so, and it got in my head. You? Too weak? Wolfer asked in a shaking voice. John nodded and looked to his left hand. He closed his eyes and sighed. Thanks, Shadow. Chapter 245, Bloodskull 3, Zakrisos. Vote guys. The novel needs you. Extra chapter. Every plus $10 patron or PayPal. Extra chapter. 5,000 votes. Extra chapter. 8,000 votes. What was that back then? Wolfer asked me with an angry face. It is the question that I wanted to avoid, but was 100% unavoidable. I screwed up. What kind of screw up was that? Sigh. Simply put it, as I dabbled into a nasty kind of aura, and it overwhelmed even me, the user. They all looked at me as if I am some sort of idiot. You can't control your own aura? They asked. Well, it is embarrassing. The aura is part of a person's nature. To not be able to control it actually idiotic. What is the characteristics of that aura? Alina finally asked a good question. I answered her based on what happened and the feelings I had during using that aura. Still, I couldn't credit stopping me to Shadow. I see. It sounds like you indeed lack power. Strange, for an aura to have such characteristics. It is illogical and logical at the same time. Dominance is the main purpose of power, and if your aura is more powerful than you, then you indeed won't be able to control it, still, for it to change you. Alina was murmuring and looking at me with curious eyes. I know, right? And for you to find a link between Soulfire and the Sigic secret spell, Imbue Weapon, Master will be very happy with you. Even Uncle Johnrad will be happy to see his teachings showing effect with you. First of all, Nerina is very happy with me, and that father of mine was showing off his flame aura off. Oh, come on. Give him a chance to be happy. My conversation and Alina's turned to a strange turn for a second. Okay, let's leave that topic aside for now. That aura of yours, you won't be able to use it, so will you use your usual, or will it be impossible? Wolfer, but in. No worries, I can use my madness aura. Well, alright, I see. What will you call that new aura then? Jeliner asked. I don't know, maybe dominant or overbearing. Great. Now he became a bigger S than he used to be. Just called it Tyrant Aura. Joel refuted, but she gave a good suggestion. Great, I'll go with that. I was actually thinking about Aura of the Daddy because red actually fits, yo. Shut up, Joel. She seemed to be going with the conversation somewhere unpleasant. Good thing we stopped her. We had a rest here to replenish our strength anyway. We also recovered the belongings of the great-grandfather of Raven Rock's mine foreman, and it was a journal and some other things. I kept the Bloodskull blade for myself as my personal sword. Say, can you appraise that sword for me? I asked Wolfer. Good, very ancient, and needs some patching. Put the craft is really amazing. The red design on the silver is also unique. The magic in the sword probably kept it well preserved too. I like that red magic crescent that you did with the sword. Yeah, the enchantment is very unique, but I can think of a way to replicate the magic one day. Good luck with that, he said and gave me the sword back. I took the sword and linked it normally with soul fire. It glowed red and had a good sound to it. Remember that lightsaber I was holding when we went to Quagmire? Bled, don't remind me. You almost cried when we came out without it. I thought for 1 second that you were going to ask Vermina to give it to you. Yeah, I was about to, but she pulled Alina's eyes out and, well, you lived that traumatizing moment too. Man, that was one messed up place. I know, right? Vermina, the Daedric prince of nightmares, and Skooma. Skooma. Well, it didn't make any sense to me back then. Anyway, there's that thing about the small idea I had. Let's change the design. That thing? But changing it again? First time you added cat ears, and later you wanted it to be more vivid. Look, man, I'm a blacksmith, not your artisan. Technically, you work for me, which makes me your boss, and you know my reputation in that field. And relax, I'm actually simplifying it for you. I'll show it to you later. Fine, just get us out of here first. Roger, everyone. We are moving, I said, and started warming up a bit. How will we advance? Jorna asked. Watch and learn, baby, I said and walked towards a certain wall. It was not really a wall. It was a ceiling wall that needed some sort of special magic to open. Luckily, all I needed is the Bloodskull blade. There were certain markings on the wall. I aimed at them from far away with the blade that slashed. With the Bloodskull blade in my hand, a red energy ribbon was unleashed and hit the marking accurately. Just like that, some pieces of the wall started moving. Whoa, amazing! Another marking appeared on the wall, and I kept sending energy slashes from the sword and hit them all. With the last one being hit, the wall started shaking and opening like a gate. Damn, was the ancient Nord so good at engineering? Let's just get going. Yep. We advanced through the tunnel that opened behind the wall and walked through a lot of traps to just reach a large chamber with 2 platforms in both ends and a pool of water in the middle. Just as we stepped closer, the tunnel behind us got blocked and the water in the pool started to shake. Alina, you're first. As I said so, Alina ran towards the pool and dipped her staff in. As she did so, the water started turning into ice on a fast and a visible scale. None of us were just watching as we arranged ourselves around Alina, and I started conjuring Storm Atronax. The pool was large, but Alina went wild with her magicka and froze it all in a few seconds. As everything settled down for a short while, the room started shaking again. That bastard! I felt a strong shore of magicka, and suddenly in the middle of the pool, a strong lightning magic blasted the area, and a lot of icy mist covered the view. Just as we were trying to see what happened, a strong lightning spell found its way to Alina and almost hit her, but luckily, boom, my Storm Atronax was there. No matter what lightning magic you were casting, even if you were an archmage, you can't destroy a Storm Atronax with lightning magic. You may as well heal it. Alina finished her spell to freeze the entire pool and retreated back with a pale face. Alina, rest and recover. Jorna, cover her. Wolf and Joel from the sides. Nefertiti from the back. I was obviously going to take the front as I directed the staff of Sheogorath towards the snow mist that started to settle down. There, a figure with a strong magicka sensation and a suffocating feeling around floated in the air. It was a dragon priest. We defeated 2 dragon priests thus far. The first was Ozidal of Flame. The second was Dukan of Frost. This time we were facing Zakrisos of the Lightning. As soon as Zakrisos was visible through the mist, I used the staff of Sheogorath and cast its special effect bind at the dragon priest. At first, I was successful, but not a couple of seconds passed until Zakrisos unleashed a shock wave from within himself and canceled the binding as if waving away a fly. TSK, the bastard. Joel and Wolf were attacking, and I had to distract it as fast as I could for them to land a hit and retreat, but Zakrisos was no easy opponent. Just as I cast lightning bolts at him, Zakrisos blacked all my attacks with a ward and blacked Wolf's hammer with the staff in his hand. Fuck. Retreat. I couldn't help but to try and spell focus my magic as much as I can on Zachrisos. Luckily, Wolfer managed to retreat with his shields absorbing most of the damage, and Nefertiti changed its mind from attacking to grabbing Joel and retreating away. Damn it, this is bad. I was a bit terrified by the strong reaction of the Dragon Priest. I knew it should be strong, but it can even block the physical attacks like that. Ozidal was a fire mage and a necromancer. Dukin was an ice mage and a conjurer. In both necromancy and conjuration, I wasn't some amateur and I could turn the tide against them, but Zachrisos seemed to be a different story altogether. It seemed like his style is relying on both magical and physical powers. Fusaro. I didn't think of a better choice to keep Zachrisos away until my team retreats to a safe position, and luckily Zachrisos didn't see that one coming. He got engulfed by the shout's effect, but it still managed to hold on with its strong magic. Zachrisos is a lightning mage after all. It can be said that this element in magic is the representation of power, as no one can wield that demanding element long enough except those who are strong in the term of Magicka. I rallied the Storm Atronax forward towards Zachrisos, and as they are all greater Atronax, I don't think that Zachrisos can deal with them using only lightning magic. I had to keep him occupied until I finished charging the next spell. To my surprise, Zachrisos used a spell that didn't seem to be related to the Destruction School and started destroying the Storm Atronax with it. I couldn't dally anymore and let out all the Magicka into the spell as I overcharged it. As Zachrisos was done with the Atronax, he faced me with a spell too. I shot a strong lightning spell towards Zachrisos, and he did the same. Our spells met together midway, and we clashed in a magic duel. It was so bright that I had a hard time focusing ahead. At our point of clash, lightning started scattering to all direction towards anything close to it. Still, I was being overwhelmed again. God damn it, what is wrong with that thing? Its Magicka was so freaking powerful that I couldn't help but be pushed back a few steps. I was feeling like I was carrying the weight of the world by just facing Zachrisos. If not for the staff of Shiagarath that I was using, my state would have become a lot worse. Still, it was inevitable. Zachrisos increased the Magicka output in the spell he was casting, and I was completely pushed back. As my spell fell short only a few centimeters away from my staff, Zachrisos unleashed his power, and the spell exploded, and I was blown away completely to the wall behind me. All I could feel was a sweet taste in my mouth, and I became so dizzy due to the Magicka backlash and the impact. John was blown away like a rag doll, and his face was pale. It was completely out of his team's calculations, as the leader they always relied on was not easy to push back. Alina was infuriated and stood up as fast as she could to block any harm that can come toward John with her body if she had to. She used the same strategy as John and conjured some Storm Atronax to delay Zachrisos. Joel, Nefertiti, I want you both to delay it a few seconds. Roger. Jorna, heal John. On it. Wolf, do something flashy. Sister-in-law, you came to the right place. As Jelinar and Nefertiti started annoying Zachrisos with long-range attacks from afar, and Jorna started healing John, Wolfer and Alina started to do their own things. Wolfer let go of his hammer and shield and put down his helm. He then looked around and saw a large pillar that seemed to be broken since long ages past. Wolfer came in front of the pillar and squatted down. He wrapped his strong, muscular arms around the pillar and used his aura. He started radiating like the sun for a second with the golden holy aura that enveloped him. He was being buffed and healed by it, but his physical action was still harming him. To him, it was good training as he managed to lift the large pillar up. Take this, fucker. Wolfer moved towards Zachrisos and spun his body with the pillar 2 times around himself. As he finished his move, he let go of the pillar that got launched towards Zachrisos in a scary manner. As strong as he is, Zachrisos wouldn't want to take that pillar head-on and was about to dodge it, but he was too slow. The reason seemed a bit familiar to before, as when Zachrisos looked towards John's direction, it saw him holding the staff of Shiagarath and using Bind on him. John's head was bleeding, but he was grinning as he managed to contribute to the attack. Zachrisos was forced to use magic to block the pillar, and there was only the warding barrier in his arsenal that could do such a thing. The pillar clashed with the barrier, and Zachrisos was pushed back completely to the side of the chamber. It wasn't pleased with the result, as it felt its power going down significantly. This power that was cultivated in ages of long slumber under the damned seal was now being sucked away by the 6 brats around it. It felt frustrating, as Zachrisos couldn't curse at them, as his body was still in that of a Draugr form. Given enough time, he would recover back his body and power, but these brats were so persistent. Alina has finished preparing, but waited until Zachrisos was visible in front of her eyes. Once she saw him, she cast the spell she prepared with inner cast. She disappeared from her place and appeared right behind Zachrisos, then touched it with her left, imprinting a rune on it, then used the spell on her right to teleport away. All that happened within 1 second, and even Zachrisos couldn't react. Suck it! As Alina appeared away, she snorted towards Zachrisos and flipped the bird to him in contrary to her usual manners. Still, the effect of the imprint she cast on Zachrisos started showing its effect. A curse of some sort. As Zachrisos noticed the change around himself, he realized that he could no longer cast lightning magic. It wasn't due to a silent spell or anything similar. It was Alina casting a spell to push away all the air around Zachrisos. Without air around him, Zachrisos can no longer cast any of the destruction elements. Frost is mostly relying on air, and lightning needed air to travel through, as well as flame that needs oxygen. With this idea that John told her about, Alina managed to make a wind spell that would be considered one of the most annoying spells ever created. Even dispelling it was tricky. At that time, John finally recovered. He walked forward with Bloodskull at hand and looked at Zachrisos with disdain. "Let's see how much you can hold on." John started waving Bloodskull madly, and a series of energy arcs were unleashed with his waves. Zachrisos could use a war to defend, but John was adding more power and speed in his attacks. First, he cut a leg, then an arm, then a part of the armor. The team completely overwhelmed the weakened Zachrisos as he ran out of options to face them. John's eyes were fixed on the Dragon Priest, while letting bits of his tyrant aura in the attacks. He was trying to control it without completely letting it go. It was a careful process, but John was on his best mindset and managed to put down Zachrisos for good. Zachrisos fell down with a noisy howl of a beast that shook the entire chamber. John spoke no more and acted as if a robot. He said 2 words and walked ahead. Word wall. His team that was about to cheer for the win were taken aback and followed him with their eyes. As John arrived at the word wall in the other end of the room, he sat down and started meditating. "What? Now?" Jeliner wanted to refute, but Alina stopped her. "Shush. He must have realized something." They all observed John, who started to act strangely as he was meditating. His face was twitching from pain, and his skin started to become red. The scene resembled that time when he absorbed the podomic energy from the Spriggan, and it seemed John was using the last of the excessive energy to achieve a breakthrough. This fast? I don't know. He must have a reason. He was still in the processing of stabilizing the 9th level of the dragon robbing stage, but it seemed that he wanted to make another breakthrough. Why would he want to rush for the 10th level that fast? He said it is good to be patient. Wolfer asked, "I'm not sure, but something is unusual. Give him some space and rest for what? What is that?" As Alina was trying to clear some space for John to relax, she noticed the change of energy around him. On a normal breakthrough, an energy pulse wave should go out as the mortal essence within the spirit gets replaced with a profound essence, but this breakthrough was different. The energy was taking a manifestation around John, and that was, "Oh no, not again." They all have witnessed that disaster before. A fire WYRM manifested around John and started revolving around him. Something unforeseen was going on. Chapter 246, Krylin. Extra chapter. Every plus $10 patron or PayPal. Extra chapter, 5,000 votes. Extra chapter, 8,000 votes. The moment I opened my eyes, I felt a bad taste in my mouth from eating right before I sleep yesterday. I didn't know this would happen, but my appetite was like a bottomless pit. To explain things, let me give an explanation from the time I sat down to meditate in the depth of the Bloodskull Barrow last night. After finishing off Zachrisos, I felt a strange surge of energy coming from within me, and I needed to invest it right away. I felt that I was proceeding to a new height or another realm, so I found a good place to sit near the word wall and started using the last of the Padamic energy I have to do my meditative training. It was then when the changes started to happen. I felt a surge of energy from my soul, and an extension of my power started swirling around me. Strange enough, it felt like fire WYRM swirling from my inside. I felt that I have total control over it, though. Anyway, I couldn't stop meditating now. It would be fatal if I stopped midway and here when another change happened. It felt like another pulse wave was going to be released from me like every time, but it was different than before. The power wasn't going out. It was as if its target was in. Strange as it sounds, I felt the energy pulse in my bones. It was as if I can feel whatever touches my bones, and the energy was going through it, but it was not a good feeling at all. For a second there, I almost shouted from the pain. It was as if my bones were being broken and put back together again and again. Even my teeth gave me that feeling when someone has a strong toothache. It was overall a disastrous feeling going through my body. I didn't know if something went wrong with the training, but all I could do is to push forward to avoid the probability of injuring myself, and I passed the agonizing pain. I opened my eyes to find that I was surrounded by some vapor. Funny enough, I was the source of it. My skin was red, and I seemed to have sweat a bucket. I tried to muster up some strength to stand up, but it took me quite a bit to adjust my tired body. The people around me, however, didn't give a hand and were holding their weapons up and looking at me dumbfounded. As I asked them about the reason, they told me they were afraid it would turn out like last time in the Firemain clan when Fire WRMS came out of my body and damaged some of the clan hall. Compared to that time, this time had only one Fire WRM and was totally under my control. I even felt I can call for it too, but I was too tired and dizzy to even cast a spell. I sat on the ground again and told them to copy the contents of the word wall for me. It said, Het ont KRST Murake W ATD. OK Savat OL Ka Espinal. DRA Fa OK Unesla D Midden. Which means, here once stood Mirakuware, his faith as armor shield by Deidre for his eternal loyalty. The word of power here was Ka, which means armor. This was the second word of the dragon aspect shout, one of the most powerful shout in the game, and maybe in history. I had no hope of learning it before absorbing a dragon soul and walked the official path of the Dragonborn. Apart from the unfathomable word of power, we gained a new black book and a dragon priest mask. This alone was a terrifying loot in my opinion. I was then led to Raven Rock and put to rest after giving me some food and medicine. Now as I woke up, I started looking for a bath to wash, but a lucky guy like me always had two girls waiting for that moment. Once my intentions for a bath was clear, Alina and Joel prepared a hot tub for me and, of course, joined me in. I buried my face in Alina's chest to ease some of my mental fatigue, and she kindly nursed me. You gave us a scare last night, my Alina said in a warm voice. Sorry about that. I kissed her cheek as we stuck close to each other. What about me? I was worried too. My Jelliner was also quite in the mood. And kiss me too. She was sitting in front of me, so I stretched my hand and fondled her cheek, then sat her on my hip. I was sandwiched from the front and back with my girls for almost an hour in our pink atmosphere until we decided it was enough. We sat together after that in a silent mood together. Hey, about yesterday, what happened? Jelliner broke the silence. Yesterday. Oh, I had a breakthrough. A major breakthrough, I guess. Major? Like when you said when one reaches a higher level than the dragon-robbing realm? Yes. Awesome. Tell us what happens. Yes, how do you feel? Never better, actually. I can also control the red tyrant aura now. I said as I took the Haven ring and retrieved an Orcish steel sword from it. I applied strength to my hand and broke it without using any bit of aura. My body became stronger. To be exact, my bones are more powerful now. Great. So the meditative training finally started to affect the body condition? Indeed. What did you call the stage? The dragon frame realm, unlike the dragon robbing realm. It seems that it takes a lot longer and there are more stages to it. The dragon robbing realm is 9 levels, but I estimate the dragon frame realm to be much more demanding. This is the information that the augur replied after a long analysis. Amazing. So you are now at the first level, dragon frame realm. Not wrong, but not right. The dragon frame realm focuses on tempering the body. I would say that this is the first level of the first stage of the realm. Oh, it is more complicated now. Yeah, just call it level 1 iron bone stage, dragon frame realm. Makes sense? Also be careful. At the start of every stage, the energy will test the body in some sort of a tribulation process. The first was the bone, and the second, I am not sure about it yet, so take care when you feel you're breaking through. Noted. Thanks. I am satisfied with the results, even though I'm a bit worried about something. The meditating is a hard process as it is breaking the laws of mortality. I am now in the superhuman stage as my body itself is getting stronger without the need to activate magicka or aura. What is worrying me is how hard will I reach before year 4 E201. It is going to be a chaotic year, and I need to stabilize Winterhold as soon as possible to put myself in a long training season. I also need a source of a vital podomic and anuic energies to hasten the training. Alina and Jull exchange their anuic energy with me daily, and I give them my podomic energy daily too. The thing is, I am still stronger than them combined, and if I get heated up during sex, I will put them both down without effort. To solve that, I either need to make them stronger by resources or having some more girls into the entourage. The former needs a lot of luck to find a good resource, and the later needs at least 5 girls to equal the amount of Joliner's energy, let alone Alina. To tell the truth, I don't feel good with having more girls around me. I love Alina, and I intend to have her beside me for eternity while Joliner is my and Alina's lover, who will be my second wife, no argue about it. They both know about my overflowing libido and don't think about it. So it is a bit okay to have other women like Alishka and Sev around, yet I still feel awkward about it. I need to find a solution calmly first, so I will leave this matter for later. Anyway, I left the girls to dress up and do their business and headed out to Wolfer. He was waiting for me, and we had a long conversation about things, then head to Glover's smithy. Glover had a forge on the seaside, so Wolfer and I borrowed it for some work. On a table in front of us, there are 4 items. The Bloodskull blade and the masks of Azadul, Dukin, and Zakrisos. We worked together on the Bloodskull and polished it while adding layers of ebony to it. Wolfer can maintain the enchantment while honing and sharpening the blades and showed off his real skill to me. The sword started to look as good as new while maintaining its unique shape. Check the mod Bloodskull blade redone by Beliro and all his other awesome mods. Now, the Bloodskull blade actually felt a lot stronger and much better. Once I held it, it glowed red too, like a lightsaber of a Sith, except it was a bit wider, but don't let that ruin the fun. Still, the sword was the appetizer, and the real things we started working on was the Dragon Priest masks. This was our main objective after all. Wolfer and I looked at each other, and I grinned to him. Ready? God damn it, John. I told you I can smell the ebony and cast it, but forging it is beyond me, man. It is really impossible. We are not going to forge dimwit. We are doing something awesome here. I know, but shouldn't you wait for a little while? I need to hone my skill more. Really? Yesterday you were excited, and today you got cold feet in front of the forge? Shame, shame, shame. All right, stop it. Show me the masks. He took them from me and started marking them while avoiding the enchantments. This is going to be hard. 3 days passed after John and Wolfer started working on the masks. Alina and Jorna were having a crazy match of Gwent while Jelena was crying after she lost an Nefertiti. The boys are not done yet. Jorna asked. Don't ask me. The two of them are in front of Forge together. Kai knows what messed up thing they're going to come up with this time. Alina replied. It is always John's fault. He lures Wolf with all his crazy ideas about strange weapons. Jorna said. Wolfer is also at fault. He trusts John blindly. Joel said. Sigh. Boys will be boys. Alina replied with a grin. The other girls sighed. At that time, the door to the manor opened and Wolfer came in. His clothes were all messed up and seemed to be going to have a hardcore bath in a moment. He smiled once he saw the girls, then pointed at the door. As all of them looked at the door, John came in with an appearance similar to Wolfer and was holding a large wooden tray covered with gray cloth. He put it on the table and removed the cloth. What was under it was a sword and a mask. Ladies, I present to you the home blade, Bloodskull, and the new dragon priest mask, Krylin. The girls looked at the familiar blade that was no longer an old rusty sword. Its appearance was beautiful and gave a lot of power. But the more beautiful thing was the dragon priest mask. It was bigger than the usual dragon priest masks, since it was more of a masked helm, as it covered the head from the back too. Its appearance, however, was intimidating and artistic. The engravings on the ebony were all beautiful, and it had red parts like the Bloodskull blade too. This mask was seen in Star Wars and was known as the Sith Asilat mask. Sith Acolyte mask, https://IBB. co/BG5RB7B. You said its name is Krylin? There is no dragon priest we fought with that name. Wait, Krylin? Jelena thought. Krylin is a word from the dragon language. I think it is taken from the word krill, which means brave. Krylin, does it mean dare? Alina said. Bingo, John replied. This is a mask reforged for John from the 3 dragon priest masks we obtained. Wolfer said. What? Impossible? As mortals, you can't add 6 enchantments in one item. Alina stood up and cried. Who said we added? We merged the 6 into 2. John said. The look between Alina and John carried more than what the other could understand. Both of them know what does it mean to have more than 3 enchantments on one item, and mortals can't make it happen anyway. John claimed that he merged 6 enchantments together. Alina looked at the fancy mask right away and held it to examine it. She didn't help but to frown, then open her eyes in shock. John indeed merged 6 enchantments into 2. Each of the 3 dragon priest masks they obtained can fortify the resistant to one element by 50% and empower the element by 25%. John rewrote the enchantments and created a new mask by mixing the 3. Alina looked at the mask in her hand and put it down with cold hands. This is simply an artifact. Krylin, 50% resist destruction. Destruction spells do 25% more damage. Bloodskull release energy arcs with power attack, stronger with aura. Chapter 247, Back Home, Thief of the Star. Extra chapter, every plus $10, patron or PayPal. Extra chapter, 5,000 votes. Extra chapter, 8,000 votes. Now that I have a Sith lightsaber, Bloodskull, and a Sith mask, Krylin, all I need now is a blaster gun, and I can achieve the childhood dreams of my past life to the max. That lawyer I used to be who died without knowing the reason can rest in peace once and for all. What do you guys think about the blaster gun? That energy gun from Star Wars. We can make it shoot auras? Sigh, such a dream. Anyway, with all that done, my visit to Solstheim was finally coming to an end. I visited the old foreman of the mine and returned to him the notes of his great-grandfather. With it, he could convince Counselor Morvain and Second Counselor Adril Arano to reopen Raven Rock's mine. Once House Reduran checked the mines that I cleaned, they were overjoyed to the max and asked me to come to Blacklight City in Morrowind to receive a gift from the main house, gain a title, but I said it is okay and asked to be a trade partner with the mine too. Without further delay, I got accepted right away, and an ebony trade would open between Winterhold and Raven Rock. Trading ebony, ore, and mining it was forbidden in the Empire and its provinces. The ebony was only imported as a certain amount by none other than the East Empire Company. The EEC has a total monopoly over the ebony trade in the Empire. Selling the ebony to them is the best course of actions. Both towns were in a bad shape before, but now, thanks to the Dare Dragon Company, everything is getting better and better for both towns. We spent one day after that, then took the Alexandria back to Skyrim once again. That was a really nice trip, even though we were fighting most of the time. Joel said, "You like Solstheim?" "Yes, the Ashlands are not that bad, and I heard the mainland of Morrowind look much better." "What about you, Alina? What did you like about the trip?" "It was interesting, my first time out of Skyrim, so it was interesting," Alina said. "Yes, Skyrim is more beautiful, even though Winterhold is a damnable wasteland." Jellinger added, "You both are right. I miss Skyrim too. Tell you what, we finish up with the coming even and go on a trip around Skyrim, the three of us with Nefertiti, of course." "Yes, please." "Oh, I was seen in a favorable impression by the girls, and we at least planned up forward just a little." We returned back to our cabin once the ship was going nicely. We have 5 days to laze around or do something useful until we reached Winterhold. I, myself, will go work on the Magicar reactor. 5 days indeed passed. Between intense lovemaking and researching, life on the ship was pretty simple and happy. Also, I am but a few steps away from finishing the first Magicar reactor prototype. I used a ruby gemstone as the core of the reactor, as it was enchantable. It was linked with a soul gem by elven metal wires and all put together in a grinded stahlroom. Putting the mix in a cylinder template, the stahlroom was left to mold together with itself, enclosing on the soul gem and the enchanted ruby. Then the stahlroom itself got enchanted once again. There were some elven wires coming out from the top and bottom of the stahlroom mold, and these were to connect some dwarven poles with normally positive and negative poles. The last step was going to take a while, so I delayed it to when I reached Winterhold. Mother, an old bastard. I greeted Nerina and Hilda with a one-to-go hug and greeted Jonrad casually. "Brat, you look stronger." Nerina noticed right away. "No, he looks pale." "Jonhild, were you eating well?" Hilda asked. "I was eating like a pole. I'm just pale from the sea breeze." We were all gathered in my house, Seamus Manor, where Hilda and Jonrad were staying the past month. They hammered me with questions left and right until they were finally satisfied. I finally gave Nerina the last insights I gained in the meditative cultivation, and she took the scroll I gave her and started reading it on the side. Jonrad, on the other hand, was grinning at me. "So you managed to solidify your aura. Good job." "Well, I got some insight from our spar." "Oh, want to go again? I'll show something new this time." "Spare me now, old man. I need to finish a crucial project during the coming month." I still remember how he solidified his aura and used it as a whip. It felt so darn heavy back then. Even with the breakthrough I achieved, I am not able to do anything similar. Father have learned most of the Dragon Knight skills that appeared in ESO, and his understanding was deep and fathomable. Even though he is a lousy teacher, watching him sure is very useful. "So, how is the expected fire main?" I said and pointed to Hilda's belly. She was wearing a big dress, and her belly started to take shape by the baby. It was her 4th month after all. Jonrad, Hilda, and Nerina smiled, all 3 of them. "We are expecting 2 firemans." Father said. "2? Wait. 2? I'm going to have 2 siblings?" I grinned widely. This family is going to get wild. "We're staying here for a while, then we'll go back to the clan's fort in the 6th month. Jonrad said. "I see. You shouldn't move a lot then. Ask anyone, and everything will be brought right to you." I said. "John, I'm not that incapable, I still can." "Shut it. This wasn't a request." "Hey, old bastard. Say something." "Little bastard is right." Alina came in, and we all agreed to keep Hilda under watch. Alina and Joel would be able to keep her in check, as Jonrad is a lazy bum who would sleep if have nothing to do, and Nerina is a nerd who would put her face in a book and forget about the realm she lives in. Good thing we made it back in time. Anyway, we invited Wolfer and Jorna for dinner, then Faralda and Laneth popped up and got invited too. The mood was as heartily as I wanted it to be. "John, Prepare for the scholars' exam in a week. We are short on teachers, Lonith said out of the blue. Teachers? Come on. I said I would be a journeyman scholar like you. I said to her, journeyman scholars are one type of the scholars in the college. They're the ones who go around the world and search for old magic to research. Lonith was the shining star between the journeyman scholars at that. Other than them, there are management, researchers, teachers, combatants, alchemists, and artificers, each to their department. Journeymen wouldn't have any duties in the college, but need to contribute 2 times a year for them to receive funding from the college. Mages have their own sources anyway, so journeyman scholars are rarely active like Lonith. The mysticism department needs a teacher, and you are very able to be that one. All I will ask you is to keep teaching for a month after you pass the exam and get hired. Just cover for me until I return from Cyrodiil. Lonith said, sigh. Okay, but you have to give me 2 expert Atronax spells. I said, just that. Well, the greater Atronax are hard to reform, so I need your guidance. I said the problem I was having. They can't be reformed. Lonith said, what? They can't be reformed unless they are mixed with another element. For example, flame and stone Atronax are the best combination we found so far. Stone Atronax? Aren't those just golems? Yes. I see. So the greater Atronax has a greater ego and needs to be subdued with a neutral element, and that is stone. Stone, shadow, flesh, or iron. As long as you can make golem out of it, then you name it. I will give you the technique and a good spell. Deal. Golems are really not much different from Atronax, but don't wield magic. The idea behind making them is very simple. One will just conjure a familiar from Oblivion, which is the most basic kind of Daedra. Familiars are not just some ghosts like how it appeared in the game. They're the most basic form of Daedra. They are formless souls that wander Oblivion and can be conjured to take an appearance and receive commands just like that. They can also later evolve into a Daedra beast like a Clanfear or a Scamp. Sometimes, mages conjure these formless familiars and make them possess stone, which is the most stable element, and with that, the first stone Atronax was created. Now Lonith told me that I can conjure reformed greater flame Atronax with that method. I like it. I will have to brainstorm it with Alina later. Night came, and we all went to our beds. My beauties were on my left, and right as always, but something woke me up from that peaceful sleep. I saw a dream, a nightmare. Maybe a memory, I am not sure. I calmed my mind and went out of bed quietly to not wake anyone up, then donned my heavy cloak and put on the Haven ring. I looked at my gear, which was made of 4 pieces of Ozidal's artifacts along with other things. Anyway, I felt that the 4 artifacts gave me some memories that belonged to Ozidal. They seemed to be the memories from when Sarthal got sacked by the Snow Elves. How pitiful. His resentment still held all that time, even though he helped Isgrimor push all the Snow Elves to extinction. Still, Ozidal was a hero once, and his remains deserve respect. I was still carrying his body in a coffin in the Haven Cube. I think I should do it fast. I headed out of the house and conjured a flame Atronax. Hawk then rode on it and rose to the sky. Less than an hour later, I arrived at Sarthal, or what used to be. The only thing that was left was their Hall of the Dead, which is the Nordic crypt of the dead. The rest of the traces disappeared away under this snow. I sighed and took out a shovel, then dug a grave in a good area and placed Ozidal's coffin in. After I buried the coffin, I stood a minute in silence for him. That is the least respect I can show. But as I turned around, I saw a woman, a dark elf that looked somewhat familiar. This was Arania Ionith. Arania Ionith, the priestess of Azura that sent me after the Star of Azura, which I ended up changing. Blasphemer, I should kill you for defiling Azura's artifact, she said with an angry face. I looked at her with a poker face, then sighed. What was done had to be done. The star took a lot of lives. Defiler, thief of the star, I would have called all the Dunmare and Winterhold to rise against you, but damn it. She paused for a while, then continued. But Lady Azura chose to show you mercy for now. You took in the Dunmare when people kicked them out, and you provided them with a place to live in the shade of her twilight. Lady Azura decided to show mercy for now. I just remained silent. You are now a defiler, but you will return what you stole and atone for your sins. Lady of the Twilight still sees you as her champion. I don't know why or how, but you will hear from me later. Arania Ionith said her words and turned around leaving. I felt a disaster coming my way. It seems the Daedric Prince of Twilight, Azura, is pissed at me. God damn it. Chapter 248, The Little Spy Girl. Extra chapter, every, plus $10, patron or PayPal. Extra chapter, 8,000 votes. What Arania Ionith said kept bothering me for a while after she left me in front of Sarthal. I was really worried for a few days after that, and kept thinking of all the possibilities. Arania said that Azura chose to show mercy and forgive me for now, as I was making her followers, which are the Dark Elves, live and worship in good terms in Skyrim. This was due to the Dunmere settlement that was built in front of Whispering Mine and had a lot of Dunmere who wanted to live in the shadow of Azura's shrine over the mountain beside it. Also, I treat the Dunmere better than most because of how I closely tied with them. I mean, he is Nurina and Jelinar in my life, as well as some of my personal guards and some girls in the bathhouse too. They're the second majority in Winterhold after all, but it would be a real problem for them to know that I have caused such a thing to the Star of Azura. Now with this message from Azura, I knew that my journey with her haven't even started yet. God damn it, what was I thinking? I looked at the black star in my hand as I just emptied it from the black soul trapped in it. It was plainly stupid to think that making it black would stop the people from using it to achieve immortality. History is filled with many tales of people who tried to exploit the star, and it always ended with a bloodbath. Well, whatever. I can't endure the wrath of Azura, even if I try to fix things before they get out of hand. Azura is known to be cruel. She cursed an entire race that was called the Chimer, changed folk, and made them into the Dunmere, Dark Elf. But even though she was cruel, she cares for her people and their suffering. She is the goddess of dusk and dawn, mother of the rose and queen of the night sky. Her realm of oblivion is called Moonshadow. It is a giant garden full of roses, a city of silver, and breathtaking vistas brimming with waterfalls, flowers, and majestic trees. The goddess herself resides in a palace of roses. Other than that, Azura is known to be one of the more merciful and benevolent lords, and even though her wrath is swift and painful, she cares for her followers the most, as she may send her champions through the land to help them if they were in trouble, which is a quality not in Daedric Prince showed. If she still considers me one of her champions, then I must find the chance to fix things once I get the call, even though I will be always worried until that happens. Anyway, for now I should focus on my work. Master Nurelian visited me and made me his prisoner for the whole day, discussing the most nerdish theories and ideas he came up with. He even gave me a good insight into the illusion school and taught me how to change my appearance with the mimic spell. It was a very fun experience, but the spell was too weak and can be discovered by anyone with a slight sense of magic. It also can't change my height, which can get me out from a mile away, but it was fun. During the night, Trudvar, my housecarl, came to my office and gave me a report I was waiting for. It was about the events that happened during my trip. They caught a spy, made some improvements in the city, received some merchants, and finished a good part in the Western New Wall. Where did that spy come from? Well, we don't really know. Why? Too tough to interrogate? No, it is just, I am listening. The spy is a girl, boss. We didn't let that crazy torturer have his way with her, so we waited until you arrive. The spy a girl? Ah, I see. Normally, Trudvar is not concerned about Team Zero, which has female agents, and he wouldn't imagine girls to be spies. Well, we didn't even catch any except that Thalmor girl we were keeping in prison. All right, go to Alishka and let her handle it. Handle it. Just tell her to handle it, and she will understand. It would leave a bad taste if we let a girl to that bastard torturer. Just hearing the wails of the men we send to him makes me shiver, and a female spy can be handled in the bathhouse without much effort. They normally break once they get to know they are going to be sent to the bathhouse and confess on the spot. I was going to the bathhouse anyway, so I just locked the office and headed there. Once I went through the back door, which is for the sake of not causing a scene, I headed to the VIP room. There I saw Alishka. We were expecting you, boss. Thanks, Alishka. I don't really go to the bathhouse for any sort of action anymore, except when it comes to the massage. Alishka's techniques are crazy, and it always ends with sex anyway. I laid on the bed, and the massage season started. By the way, the ladies came this morning. Alina and Joel? What for? Massage and some advices. Oh, so they still take some lessons from Alishka. It started when Alina moved in and wanted to learn from Joel, but as both of them were amateurs, they decided to threaten Alishka to teach them some moves. I discovered right away and told her what to teach them and what to not teach them. Doing a good job there, Alishka. I just hope the ladies are doing well. It is fun to spend time with them. Good thing that they are not trying to kill you. I said and laughed. Well, every time I bring up an example about you, they give me some cold glares. It got better in the end. Really? Yes, I keep teaching bit by bit, and they like it. Just make sure to not run out on things to teach them. That will never happen, I can assure you. Good. Did you get that spy girl? Yes. Xena is washing her, and will bring her in once you order. Good, let's do it. I stood up from the stone bed and went down in the king-size plunge pool in the middle of my VIP room. Alishka called some girl from the outside to bring Xena, and the spy girl then sat next to me in the pool. In a minute, Xena came in. Boss. Xena, long time no see. Missed you too, boss. She walked in and jumped in the pool, then sat on my other side. Xena is also a beauty that no one other than me can survive. All Redguard have an insane amount of stamina, but Xena is a crazy existence even among them. Xena came to Winterhold not long ago and joined Alishka as her close friend and direct assistant. They both ran the place flawlessly. With them beside me like this, I look like an evil hedonist. Alishka on my left with her MILF figure and Xena on the right with her athletic body. These girls are the first girls I slept with during the tournament 2 years ago, and now they work for me in this place. Anyway, 2 girls came in with a tied-up girl whose face was covered with a bag. She was wearing some rags, but looks like she got washed before she comes in. She was forced on her knees, and the bag on her face was removed, and let's just say that I got shocked just like that. I just thought that I was with the first 2 girls I slept with in the same room, but it was actually the first 3 girls. Lizette. She was a bard from Solitude that got close to me after during the tournament. At first, I thought she was just a fangirl who wanted to jump in my bed like other girls, or so I thought way back then, and she managed to. She came to Winterhold a month ago, claiming to be looking for work in Winterhold's inns, and wanted to meet with me. I thought that this would trouble Alina and Joel, even though I met Lizette before I meet them, and also my area of hedonism was limited to Alishka and the queen bees from the bathhouse. That is why I told Wolfer to meet her, and he received a message sent by Sviti, so it was more appropriate this way. But for you to be a spy, I even took your virginity. Damn, I thought this method would work. She kept looking at me with wide eyes. Still, I can see that intimidating her like this won't actually work. She experienced Lil Jon, and as a virgin at that. While I was thinking about what to do, Lizette spoke. You are way larger than I thought you are. She said, well, I am a Nord and partial giant. I see. Lizette is a Breton, so she is very small. Realistically, and after I become this large, it won't fit in her anymore. Bretons are just tiny. So, mind solving this dilemma and spilling the beans? Who sent you? I asked as I stood up in the pool, and she saw everything. She became silent again. Boss, it can still work. If you ejected before being erect, it would fit and grow inside. Alishka said something very evil that made Lizette shiver. Or we can just put her to work. She can take a cheap tag. Xena said something as devilish as Alishka. Lizette seemed to be shivering, but we can't do that. Rather than being distasteful, it would surely affect our reputation. Enough. I think it is about time we take this seriously. I walked to the Lizette, who was on her knees, and pulled her up from her neck. Now speak. Who sent you? With every word, I released my aura. A red smoke seemed to be covering my skin and appearing all around my body. The tyrant aura was based on the madness aura, so it can affect minds just like it or even stronger. I didn't even need to overdo it, as Lizette was started crying and begging after she was acting calm a while ago. Finally, she screamed one name. Eriker. This idiotic twerp was causing me problems all the time. He was making it harder for me to expand to the Westholds, and the sole reasons I couldn't establish any connection with the Silver Blood family in Markarth. Now he hired Lizette, or rather, the Bard College of Solitude. It seems that he bards around Skyrim are now a network of spies. Didn't see that one coming. It seemed that other than me, Headmaster Viarmo was also playing the role of little finger, except that I nailed it with the bathhouse idea. I heard some interesting things from Lizette, and it seemed they tried to recruit John Battleborn and Sviti, but Battleborn was aware enough and kept Sviti safe. I remember Sviti's letter mentioning some stuff about John Battleborn making trouble with some other students for things she wasn't aware of, but he told her to keep a good distance from some people. I need to thank him once I see him. But for the Bard's College to be a guild of spies, well, the world sure is more interesting than the game. Guess I need to pay them a visit. In the end, I decided that Lizette would be kept in Winterhold for now until I have a use for her. She will be kept under watch and will be followed around by guards. She is still of use. Anyway, on the way home, Angia met me and told me that the fleet will be testing a new ship at dawn. A fully powered ship with the prototype of the Magicar reactor. This will be the dawn of a new age. Chapter 249, A New Fleet. Sorry about the delay. I am having a job interview at the first week of March in the High Court House, and I'm supposed to remember all the shit I learned in the past 5 years I spent as a law student. So freaking nerve-wracking. Extra chapter. Every plus $10 patron or PayPal. Extra chapter. 5,000 votes. Extra chapter. 8,000 votes. The name of the chill may sound scary for any one of the natives of Winterhold, as it was once a place where labor prisoners were forced to work to death by the previous administration of Winterhold. But now, things became completely different. The Chill Isle is now a very important mining area and has a large closed workshop that belonged to the Dare Dragon Company. This workshop was where all the magic was happening. We managed to create 3 designs based on the modern warships and the current age ones. The shipbuilders that were hired needed may have lacked a little bit in terms of creativity, but Uncle Njord was there to help me with that matter. He stayed in the Chill Isle for some time and managed to build the designs I gave him. Now, in front of me, in the secret dock west of the Chill Isle, there were a total of 14 ships of 3 kinds. Minus 9-gun ship, a small and fast ship that requires 10 sailors to operate. It had 2 fire magic cannons that shoot fireballs. We named them GS, 01, 02, 03, etc. Minus 4 cruiser ship, a brig, bigger, and carries more fire magic cannons. Each would shoot fireballs, and we made a magic mortar cannon that would do long-range attacks on them. There were also fire breath cannons that would shoot a strong stream of fire. One of these ships was the Roaring Flame, the ship that obliterated the Blood Sails and the Blood Horkers when they ambushed us during the coming-of-age trials. They were Roaring Flame, Iron Maiden, Thunder Wrath, and Wintergrace. Minus 1 dragon ship, a crossbreed between a man-o' war and a destroyer, a savage beauty that was made to level down fleets of enemies and conquer storms and forts. The only one we afforded to build was Queen Potima's Revenge. All the ships have no sails and were built to work on Magicar engines. All can be powered with soul gems on Magicar reactors, but the problem was the cannons, which were more consuming than expected. I had to put a small machine to make the cannons have a separate energy source away from the sailing engine, and it worked. I was looking at the docks with a wide grin when I saw the power I obtained. I was a bit drunk with power there, but I still had to hold myself from falling to greed. I know I could do a lot with that power, but they were to protect what I build, not to be abused and bring a calamity upon myself. Yes, my ships were state-of-the-art battle machines, but against the superpowers in this world, I am no different than a rogue pirate, so I have to behave and keep an eye on things. Uncle Njord. John Hill, what a cold morning this is. Are we really in second seed, May? It's the Sea of Ghosts, lad. A bone-chilling ocean that would even freeze Nords. Ingall's Barrow is just over there. Yeah, you're right, Uncle. Anyway, are we ready? Go and see for yourself. Uncle and Jord pointed at the warehouse by the beach. This was the workshop that we established, and it can fit a dragon ship in there. We built it out of stone and made sure that it was well guarded and patrolled all the time. In there was a single cruiser ship, which is the Roaring Flame. It was being prepared for the first sailing trial. And here I was in the engine room, attaching 4 Magicka reactors to the engine and making sure everything won't blow up. I mean, I tested the reactors on other things, but moving the ship takes a lot of Magicka, and the charging time of the reactors are not that fast. Anyway, all seems good, and the crew was ready to rule. And it works, I shouted. Yeah. The crew was in a frenzied state, and wishing that this fast and easy-to-ride ship can be even faster and easier. After we sailed for almost an hour, there was no heating in the quad-core Magicka engine, and the speed of the ship was amazing. We then tried testing cannons and the mortars that showed a lot of promise. Our target was the ice that formed around the small islands around the coast. We sailed to the west and had our fun with the ship from dawn till noon as we kept shooting things aimlessly until we finally exhausted the Magicka reactors, and they went into charging mode. It is simply fascinating. Marin, the gigantic Kitharat Kajia from the Creation Club and an engineer in the Creation Department, couldn't help but praise what he saw. I know, the idea of creating a network based on elven metal to connect the devices around the ship, while keeping everything under one enchantment. Only a few geniuses can pull that off. Morbagad, the orc engineer, also was in awe. Can just someone pull Yisra away from the cannon's barrel? She's going to get herself blown. Alile, the pervert Nord scholar and the current head of the Creation Department, was pulling Yisra away from the cannon's wrong end. Shoot again. Tell them to shoot. I want to see it closer. Yisra, the arsonist Redguard freak who adores flame more than the firemen's themselves, put her head deeper into the cannon's barrel and was eager to observe it while the fire was forming inside it. Can someone stop them, please? Ongium, the captain of the ship, was having a hard time focusing on his job from their noise. They are perverts. No cure for them. Yeah, until you figure out a solution, count us out. Morbagog and Marin backed away. These four were really working hard in both the college, the Creation Club, and the Creation Department. It was a really fun time to work with them, except when Alile turned into a pervert and sneak out to watch the girls in the bathhouse. Putting that aside, they were a weird but a good bunch. Anyway, I joined Uncle and Jord to celebrate with him. What do you think? When they told me you were an enchanting genius, I thought you were just a good enchanter like your grandma, or your Uncle Balder, but to think you can enchant some metal pieces together to run a ship and make it shoot fire. Shore's bones, I was standing there not understanding anything. Come on, Uncle. Without you, this beauty wouldn't have sailed, and we would be short on ships. Ha ha ha. Don't flatter me, lad. Anyway, as promised, I will provide the Sky Fire Company with the Magicka engines we agreed on and with all the services and the maintenance that come with it. Good lad. You mother and father were never this proud. I kept chattering with my uncle about the ships and the sailing. He was a famous sailor that was said to have visited the Isle of Roskria, the rumored home of the giants, which is between Tamriel and Old Atmara. He even started teaching me a way to use the aura that father hasn't taught me yet. Now that can solidify your aura is not much you can do about it, unless you learn how to merge it like John Rad. The only technique we do is to use it to make an armor around our bodies. It takes a bit of time to master, but you may do it in a year. Solidify the aura around my body. Like this. And you made it right as soon as I told you about it. Oblivion. It took me a year and a half. I am sorry. Jor was a bit disheartened, but what should I do? My existence is a cheat as a dragonborn, and I am enthusiastic about anything mystical. After all, I lived a past life in a non-magical world where magic was part of everyone's dreams and all wanted to be a superhero. Don't blame me for learning magic and mystical arts like a freak. Also, The aura is easier to understand that magic, as it is very linked to the person's nature. It is more like chi from the martial arts novels. Anyway, you said my father can merge the aura. HM? Ah, yes. He can do that thing when he uses the aura with his feet, then merge it with the earth. He then creates a layer of earth and fire around his body and to serve him as an armor. I think he called it magma armor. I see. This is also a skill that is seen in ESO. From what Uncle said, I can understand that I also can merge the aura, but not with earth like my father. I can merge it with magicka and other energies like when I tried it in the Bloodskull Barrow and developed the Tyrant aura. The aura cannot perform any long-range attacks, but when it got mixed with an energy like magicka, I became able to do so. Simply think of Bloodskull's energy arc strike as the aura reaching a further distance ahead. I also can perform it with another weapon other than Bloodskull, but I am not skilled enough to make it as perfect as it does. I also remember solidifying the aura in the shape of a weapon and throwing it at the cave's wall, but it was not that good. As I was standing on the ship's side, I thought of trying it again. I formed another spear made of my red Tyrant aura. It wasn't an actual spear or anything, just an unrefined and unstable stick of red aura. I made a throwing pose and threw it as strong as I could. Whoa, watch that. Uncle and Jord watched what I did with curious eyes. My red energy spear flew across the air, but it started to dim and dissipate as soon as it reached 20 meters away from me. It can't hold itself much away from me. Maybe I should make it faster. I took out a bow, and instead of making a spear, I made an arrow and tried to notch it on the string. It was very unrefined and hard to make. Also, the aura started damaging the bowstring, as it was very sharp and aggressive. When I let loose, the arrow flew well at first, but once it reached the target I aimed at, its shape was already breaking and didn't resemble an arrow anymore. Still, it landed on that small, icy surface and made a small boom. Still not good. Not good. Uncle and Jord looked at me as if he was trying to hit me. You mother is the only one who could make her aura reach her far, and it is not even as far as you did. TSK. Kid these days are too greedy. Sorry. I left him alone as he was fed up with how my head works. Back to this aura thing. I can now use it to empower myself, attack, overpower, form a weapon, and shield myself. Pretty useful, I would say. Maybe I should start thinking about how the novel's characters were using their chi to imitate these techniques or the aura, which is very similar. But I really wanted to launch some aura attacks, maybe not now. Anyway, the ship testing was over, and I had to test every other ship. 3 weeks later, we were taking action against the last Bloodsail stronghold. Japhet's folly is mine. Chapter 250, Private/Business Affairs. Big fat thanks to Matthew Landon on. You good, sir, deserve a lot of extra chapters. Extra chapter, every, plus $10, patron or PayPal. Extra chapter, 5,000 votes. Extra chapter, 8,000 votes. 7th of mid-year, June, 4 times 10 to the power of negative 198, 8 p.m. Master, I missed you though much. Why on earth is she here? I was sitting quietly in my office, yet suddenly, Vittoria Vici popped out of nowhere. Ahem, a bit of space, Miss Vici. By the by, why are you here? Yeah, Master, don't you miss me too? I missed you so much. Vittoria bypassed the desk I was behind and stuck herself right in front of me. She sat on my hips and started acting horny. Sigh. Fine. I will play with you, but not here and not now. Still, what brings you to Winterhold? Vittoria got a hold of herself and stood up, then started to browse the bookshelves behind me. I'm a trade manager of the East Empire Company. My job is to appraise what we buy and what we sell and what we loot. I requested to accompany the company's ships to make sure everything goes smoothly. And in Winterhold because, where else would I stay? The assault hasn't started yet, and the East Empire Company is a good friend to Winterhold, so I can at least spend some time on the land, right? Yeah, what else? Foo-foo. We heard about what happened in Raven Rock. To tell the truth, we were utterly speechless. My mother insisted that I send our agents to robe Raven Rock back, but to be turned back at the docks. I didn't see that one coming. Yeah, whatever. Master, we know that you are the new trading partner with House Reed Duran and Raven Rock, but that would upset many people, you know. You mean the Empire, the company, and House Halalu? Oh, you even caught up with the matter of House Halalu? I am impressed. I'm not worried about any of that. Oh, she seemed confused. To tell the truth, my overtaking the trade with Raven Rock was all done because of my efforts, so I have every right to be greedy and make a monopoly with the imports and the exports. Even though I didn't do that directly and didn't offend anyone, all the vultures could soon smell money around Raven Rock. And now, as the ebony mine is back to business, I am completely the #1 player in Raven Rock trading. Simply put, as that this handsome man here is a law-abiding citizen of the Empire, and I sympathize with House Halalu. Queen Berenzia is one of my heroes, by the way. I said, House Halalu was once the ruler of Morrowind before the Oblivion Crisis, the Red Year, and the Argonian invasion. It was the proxy ruler for the Empire, but these 3 events forced the Imperial army to abandon Morrowind, leaving House Halalu defenseless. Queen Berenzia is really my hero, and she was the queen mother of Morrowind before 200 years ago. One could say she's the female version of John Dare, or even cooler. We both were thieves at Rift Inn. We both hoarded power and made strong positions by shady means, and most importantly, we both don't know how to keep it in our pants. Well, I see that you have the Real Berenzia book series. All the 10 volumes. Wait, you mean the series that was published during the Warp of Daggerfall? Not the new clean version? Hee. Can I borrow it? No. Please. Puppy eyes doesn't work here, ignorant heathen. Ahem. Anyway, you say that you're a law-abiding citizen of the Empire. By that you mean? I'm selling you all the ebony, or I import from Raven Rock to you, making me the proxy between you and the large mines of Raven Rock. I'm sure the Imperial City won't mind. Morrowind is no longer part of the Empire, and the houses of Morrowind only trade with Skyrim and High Rock. If my company is to improve some of the relationships with House Reed Duran, the Empire will surely overlook a single ebony trading operation. Sigh, you sure are hard to play with. Victoria gave up on the idea she had in mind. The problem here is that the Empire prohibits both the unlicensed mining and trading of ebony, and the Imperial Legion is really uptight about that important resource. Still, importing it from outside the Empire shouldn't be that bad if I sell it to the Empire directly. Still, that doesn't mean I am not filling my coffers with ebony first. Ebony trade is never a losing business. The Empire may have no faith anymore, but money is still a good way of understanding. How is the trading state between Ebonheart and Cheydinhal? In slumber, the Argonian don't want any relations with the Empire or Morrowind. They may trade with Rift Inn or elsewhere, though. The Thalmor are behind that, then. Naturally. And Mournhold. Old Mournhold is still being rebuilt, but the struggle between House Halalu and House Endoril is making it hard to be done with. Are the Argonians harassing them? On the contrary, Argonians are showing a lot of manners towards the Dunmare outside their new borders. Mournhold now is the border city, so they deal with Argonian bandits and slavers more often. However, there are some resistance movements that rose between the Dunmare and Mournhold, and they're getting ready to make a stand. Not sure if we can profit from it, though. I see. After having some serious conversation with Victoria about the trading affairs in Morrowind, Skyrim, and Cyrodiil, I called Seb to take her to a private place. I finished what I had to finish before heading out to the college to submit my request for becoming a scholar and arranged a date for the exam. After that, I headed to the bathhouse as it was already at night and the boys would come here to drink together in a hot plunge pool and all. After some time, I headed to the private room for my own affairs. 8th of mid-year, June, 4 times 10 to the power of negative 198, 6 a.m. The next day, I woke up with 7 girls around. Victoria, Lizette, Elishka, and some girls from the bathhouse were ally lying around me. Damn, I overdid it again. Lately, I have developed a bad habit where I perform the paired meditation, dual cultivation process on those girls I sleep with. I harvest their enuic energy without giving them any podomic energy. It is not that I was using them as cauldrons or anything. They simply can't handle the energy I may give them and will harm themselves. Cauldrons refers to the process when a cultivator uses his partners as resources to benefit himself while crippling the partners or killing them in the process. I could always give them a vigor potion to help them regain their energy right away. I didn't wait any longer and took my clothes, then headed out. It was still at dawn, but it was going to be a busy day. As I went out of the room, Sev was waiting for me with some paper files. "Oh, good morning, Sev." "Good morning, boss. These are the last things you had to see before you head to the chill aisle." Summarize. The new expansion of the wheat farms in the south around the Night Gate Village and Whispering Mine is submitted, and the financial department has reviewed the costs. Good. Just make sure to focus on the parts north to the mine. We want to farm on all these lands beside the road. Noted. The windmills project was also submitted and reviewed. We have some locations in mind, but we didn't get a confirmation from you yet. Ask Alina. She can read the wind better than me, and will be able to pick the best location. Next, the city wall project and the expansion of the residential district. We are having some problems as they are overlapping a bit. The people don't want to live outside the city walls. I knew this would happen. That's why I suggested the apartment complex system. I told them these houses will be built with bricks and the new Roman cement we import from Raven Rock. Why are they so stubborn? It is a bit new to them, boss. People are a bit insecure to live this close to each other. Sigh. They just got fed and warmed, and now they're getting spoiled. I'm starting to see why the Egyptian government was so cringy. What is that, boss? Never mind. Replace the residential district project from normal housing to apartment complexes. It will save everyone time and money. There was this thing from the human resources. Don't tell me. The Dark Elves and the KG employees are still skeptical about the name. Again, what should I call it then, huh? I'm way too nice. I swear I am too nice to you people. Tell them no sujama or moon sugar on the job. It always works. Is there anything else? I want you to take a map and go to the construction department. Tell them to make a plan to reconstruct Sarthal. Before that, take the idea to the monks in the Temple of Kine and tell them to go and check Sarthal. Sarthal? The old crypt? No, keep away from the crypt. The area around it where the ancient city was is a good place. It can be easily defended if we build a town there. But boss, no other ruler has ever attempted to rebuild Sarthal again. How long has it been since that place was sacked? Iskermore's age, late Merethic era, more than 4,500 years ago. But boss, building a new Sarthal near the old crypt will make our image look pretty good between all the Nords. These fools from Solitude can stop bothering me once my reputation spread around. I'll get to it, boss. Anything else? No, I am heading to the chill. I parted with Sev after giving her the schedule for the hold. Then I headed to the ship that was waiting for me at the dock. Chapter 251, Rise in the East 1. Extra chapter, every plus $10 patron or PayPal. Extra chapter, 5,000 votes. Extra chapter, 8,000 votes. 8th of mid-year, June, 4 times 10 to the power of negative 198, 12 p.m. The East Empire Company has its ships ready north to Japheth's Folly. Even though the manager who was supposed to oversee attack is absent, the attack will be under the command of Adelaza Vindici and supported by the Imperial Navy. The ships of Windhelm were also ready in the southeast of Serpentstone Isle. They could barely see each other and had their eyes wide open to every movement. The Firemans, who were the ringleaders of this campaign, had 2 small ships patrolling the area under both Scotty and Tyr Firemain. All parties were ready for the arrival of the last player on this day. The Dare Dragon Company may look insignificant compared to them, but there was a certain ship that can deal with all the defenses set by the Bloodhorkers pirates. Speaking of which, the Bloodhorkers and the Bloodsails were under siege for 2 months till now. Still, They were really lively and managed to invite a lot of allies, too. There were a number of Argonian pirates on the island, and there were surely some hidden ships in the northeast of Japhet's Folly. So we are finally here. Prepare to secure the ground before the Imperials. Don't look down on the pirate too, but make sure to not let the Imperials take the land first. The Stormcloak commander was among his 20-something ship captain and started to lay out a plan. "Commander, what about Winterhold?" a young ship captain asked. "Ralof, was it? You are responsible for defending supply ships. Don't interfere with the fight." But the Dare Dragon Company is known to be hard to deal with. They're just there because Japhet's Folly is part of Winterhold, and the Jarl has no floating barrel to speak of. By Talos, mind your post and focus on the Imperials. On the other side, the Imperials were having a similar conversation. Adelaza Vindici and the Imperial commander gathered around 30 ship captain on their flagship and were discussing the plan. Windhelm's ships will charge at Japhet's Isle as soon as the people from Winterhold arrive. I am not saying we should race them to the island. Let them take it, and we will attack them from the back when they face the pirates from the front," the commander suggested. "Thank you, Commander. The East Empire Company appreciates the help." Adelaza Vindici, the overseer of the company's security, spoke up. "I heard that Miss Vici departed to Winterhold on a patrol boat. Will it be all right if she was left in the territory of a competitor?" A young Nord officer spoke up. "Hadvar, was it? It is okay. Miss Vici will be fine. The current government of Winterhold has strong ties to the East Empire Company, and Miss Vici is no pushover. Just make sure that the supply ships are not compromised." "Yes, sir." At that time, the watchers on the ship's crow nest started waving their flags and blowing their horns. It seemed that the last player has arrived. "Firebirds! Firebirds!" the sailors shouted. About bloody time. On the southwest, a number of big birds made of fire started coming from the mist and clouds of the sea. These were the famed flame Atronach hawks that the Thane of Winterhold, John Dare, likes to conjure. It is kind of the symbol of John Dare among the outside forces right now. "Ha ha! He has arrived." The Stormcloak commander was happy to see such a sight. Not all Nords were afraid of magic after all. "Here he comes. They will surely open the way for us by that fire ship they have." The Imperial commander was also glad and wanted to see the rumored fire-breathing ship. As if to answer their wishes, a strong fire stream came out of the mist like the breath of a dragon. It ate away all the frozen ice on the surface of the water, and then the figure of the ship appeared. As if it had a spearhead, the Iron Maiden appeared with a gigantic strong ram blade coming out from the front of its hull. The body of the ship kept appearing, but no sail was yet to be seen. No, instead of a sail, there was a superstructure coming out of the deck's baseline. It confused whoever looked at it, as such a ship shouldn't be sailed. Is it rowed? But there are no oars. And why is it that fast? Everyone started noticing what was happening. Even the Imperial legionnaires who were standing in attention turned their pupils to look. The Iron Maiden completely came out of the mist. It was at the size of a brig, but had a vicious, strong ram and a figurehead of a naked warrioress holding to maces. How the ship was moving and why is it too fast was the question of the day, but it didn't end here. Two smaller ships appeared, and they were not that intimidating at first. Their speed, it was something devilish. They were moving and jumping on the water from the sheer speed they moved in. That was no longer called sailing. These ships made a strange noise that was probably related to the secret of their movement, but there was no time to think as more shocks followed. The Roaring Flame, the Winter Grace, and the Thunder Wrath all made appearance. They had decent rams compared to the Iron Maiden, but their decks were all filled with strange machines that were reported to shoot fire projectiles. Apart from that, 7 more small ships appeared, and the atmosphere started upside down. But who said it was the end? Pull! A strong horn sound echoed through the sea. As the Stormcloaks and the Imperials were about to react, it made them all freeze. And it appeared. A ship whose name was as accursed as its appearance. A ship that was designed with tyranny and viciousness to sink ships and level islands. With no ram whatsoever, but a cannon was coming out from the hull's front. The figurehead was that of a horned skull wearing a crown and screaming madly. Queen Potima's revenge. This is way too fast. We need to get to the island first. Forget the plan. Set sail. All plans were brought down as the Stormcloaks and the Imperials started blowing the horns and spreading the sails. The one who brought these plans down was that young man who was standing on the top of the superstructure of his ship. He was standing in his black armor and helm all under a large black cloak that fluttered with the wind. John rested his hands on Bloodskull that was pinned to the surface, which gave him an imposing look. Beside him was Jellinar and Alina. The three had a strong atmosphere around themselves that made whoever who looked at them feel nervous. John's solemn face broke into a grin once he received a certain telepathic signal. Give the signal. Full speed. Boo boo boo. 3 horns meant to go into the designated formation. The imposing Queen Potima's Revenge picked up on speed and aimed all its cannons forward. The gunships and the cruisers made an arrow formation and sailed through the mist towards Japhet's Folly. Boo! Another horn sounded from the other side. It was clearly the pirates counterattacking. A big number of brigs started to flow from the mist. No one needed to guess too much. These were the Argonian pirates the Bloodhorkers invited. Shouldn't rumor about the Roaring Flame has spread far and wide? Why are there so many hired hands? Alina asked. We heard that the Bloodhorker agents that went to hired mercenaries claimed that the fire ships were all baseless rumors, and there was a strong fire mage on the ships. Jellinar answered. Yeah, just cannon fodder to slow us down. That ain't happening, though. John said as he seemed all relaxed. As soon as he looked forward, the Iron Maiden started to speed up ahead even more. Its speed has surpassed what a ship can ever achieve in this world. The pirates started to feel threatened by its imposing charge and tried to evade clashing with the ship's sinister ram. Still, the ship started shooting fireballs at them. Damn it. Return fire. The pirate felt threatened and started to shoot their arrows at the Iron Maiden, but the deck was fortified and not crowded. As soon as the Iron Maiden found the nearest target, the front dragon breath cannon shoot a scary stream of fire that consumed 2 ships in an instant. The Iron Maiden charged at them, and its rams started breaking the ships in halves. This is madness. The Stormcloak and the Imperial commanders were threatened by the sole performance of the Iron Maiden. That sounded more like sea brute rather than a ship. It wasn't long after the Roaring Flame took action and started spewing flames left and right, making a cloud of black smoke of every ship it went through. The black smoke got mixed with the sea mist and the light of the fires, giving the scene a feeling out of a fairy tale. The Winter Grace was a ship specialized in blizzard cannons. Each shot from its sentry cannon would freeze the wood and the people on a ship. With a single shock, anything that got frozen shatters immediately. The Thunder Wrath was just as deadly. It had many Tesla cannons that tear ships apart and set them on fire. The pirates' ships were being obliterated at a crazy pace. Even the small Dare Dragon gunships were using the small cannons, and the incredible mobility they have to lessen the burden from the big ships. The Imperial ships were threatened by the actions of the Dare Dragon fleet, but the Stormcloak were not that wary. Even though John gave the Imperials a bit of a favor, he had a good reputation among the Nords of Windhelm. With all the propaganda, he paid a lot of gold for. The Stormcloaks tore through the pirate ships in their direction, racing with the Dare Dragon Company. In the end, the 3 parties arrived at the shores of Japhet's Folly to find it fortified by a lot of barricades and siege weapons aiming for the ships. The citadel and the highest point of the island seemed to be fortified and ready for a siege. This was just the start of a bloody fight. In a cave beneath Japhet's Folly, a black cat popped out of the darkness. She was wearing a bright golden collar and seemed to be wary from its surroundings. She walked slowly to explore the place around her until she found a way to proceed forward. "Omen, you meanie? I am in." Chapter 252, Rise in the East 2, The Shadow Realm. The extra that was promised. Nefertiti was not that pleased being told around, but she found this thing interesting, to say the least. John entrusted the Haven Cube to her and told her what to do. She was sitting comfortably on John's shoulder during the trip on these strange new ships, which her human was super excited about. She kept yawning until John told her to start taking action. To sneak her to the island, John conjured a number of flame Atronak hawks, then put her on one of them. Reluctantly, she flew with the other Atronachs all the way up and started going in circles around the ship as an announcement for the arrival of the Dare Dragon fleet. While people were focusing on the Iron Maiden, John directed the flame Atronak hawk Nefertiti was to the east as fast as he could. Once Nefertiti saw the island she is supposed to land on, she simply jumped off the flame Atronak hawk to the sea. It was a great height that even the 9 lives of a cat would find it challenging to overcome, but to Nefertiti, it was nothing to even worry about. As soon as she found a good landed spot, she made the shadow magic expand out of her to form a parachute John taught her to make. Even though she doesn't like to move around a lot, she rather enjoys this parachute idea very much. Where she landed was not far from the island, but it was all as planned. No cat could be seen sneaking on the water surface from the island, no matter what. It was simply bizarre to think of, yet it was happening right now. Nefertiti expanded her shadow on the water and ran on it, as if it was a solid surface. During the run, Nefertiti noticed some fishes swimming under the water surface, and her pace slowed down a bit. She looked down and raised her paw, but another idea came to her mind, and she released more shadow magic and directed it at a fish. The shadow swallowed the fish in one go, and Nefertiti seemed satisfied with the result. Yummy, she hummed to herself before aiming another fish, but suddenly, boom, a fireball landed on the island and woke Nefertiti up from her greed. Yes, hummin', Zoe. And she ran once again towards the island. As she arrived at a small, icy cave under the island, Nefertiti started to notice several life force signals not too far away from here, and she realized that she arrived. Hummin', you meanie? I am in. Oh, girl, is everything okay? John replied at the telepathic call from Nefertiti. Lately, John was studying telepathy and could connect himself to Nefertiti easily. I arrived. Some humans are looking around the cave, and no shiny things here. Well, to find shiny things, you need to head deeper in the island. Make sure that you stay hidden and take anything of value. Oh, like fish. Of human value. Oh, MHM, can I take fish? Oh, sigh. Just don't eat too much or you'll get lazy. Oh, okay. I'm going. Oh, best of luck, your meow jesty. John and Nefertiti hanged up and went to their own things. As John was commanding the ships to take down the Argonian pirates, Nefertiti was the main player who would go and investigate why the other forces are targeting Japheth's folly, as well as hoard all their treasures in the collar she was wearing, which is actually the Haven Cube. As she was told, she needed to avoid attention, and that can only be done by sneaking like any normal cat or walking in the shadow like how she's used to. As a lazy cat, Nefertiti decided to go into the shadow. She just looked at her own shadow and then sank into it. She doesn't even know how she can do that. It became part of her very nature as she started to become more intelligent after all she has been with John. As she opened her eye once again, she found herself in a completely different place where up was down and down was up. It was all inverted. She could tell that it was like walking normally, but there was that feeling that up was down no matter what she thinks about it. The space looked exactly like outside the shadow. Only the colors were gray and white. The shadows of the outside were the best way to walk in, and the areas of light were harmful places she must avoid. As long as she is in this shadow realm, she needs to follow its rules. Walk in shadow, don't walk in the light. John explained this phenomenon as Nefertiti logging into a different version of reality that may be a Daedric realm heavily influenced by the real world. The shadow is the energy of the realm is stable, and the light is where the energy is being consumed by the real world. Thinking of it that way would mean that the two worlds exist in one another and in a state of exchanging energies through lights and shadows. Nefertiti, of course, didn't care what does that mean. She walked in a shadow realm that mirrored the cave she was in and noticed some shades moving up ahead. These were some mud crabs that nested under the island. The living things are reflected in the shadow world as walking auras. They were not vulnerable at all, and no entity in the shadow world can touch them whatsoever, but they were completely unaware of what is happening to their reflections in the shadow world. As an entity of both worlds, Nefertiti can possess one of those auras and cling into it. This wouldn't cause any effect rather than protect her from all the hostile entities that may appear in the shadow world. One of the reasons why Nefertiti liked to stay in John's shadow, especially when he starts meditating. Anyway, these auras in front of her were mud crabs. She didn't really about any of them and kept passing them through the large cave network onto the island. It was then when she found an access point to the fort. There were a few guards who seemed to be wary of anyone entering through the secret escape route they were securing, but Nefertiti found no problem passing through them. She could even attack them, but she didn't like troublesome stuff. As she passed through a stairway, she found herself in a large force. Many people were coming and going in a hurry, transporting arrows and spears to outside the fort. Homan said I should look for a quiet and guarded place. Nefertiti started looking around the fort again and again with a little to no result. She focused her search in the twin towers of the fort, but she still found nothing. As she was about to feel frustrated, some movement attracted her attention. She exited the fort quickly through an arrow slit and observed what was going on east of the island. There seemed to be a large stony cliff, but the residents of the island made some wooden stairs to access a small platform hidden behind the island. There were 2 longboats packed with children and women. A man who seemed to be a big shot was saying farewell to a woman and a child while instructing them to escape to the mainland right away and hide in Windhelm. Nefertiti kept staring at the children on the boat, and her eyes reflected a hint of uneasiness. She went out of the shadow and then meowed softly. Beside her, a big shadow formed, and an unstable figure made of shadow appeared. This thing was a shadow Atronak. Watch over them, Nefertiti said while her gaze was fixed on the children. The shadow Atronak soon reshaped itself into a bird and flew in the sky through the mists. Shadow Atronak were the natives of the shadow realm Nefertiti can access. More to that, she can tame them pretty easily. Nefertiti then kept watching the men as they destroyed the wooden platform to erase the traces of their families they just sent outside the island. She then kept following them until she found what she was looking for. It seemed that the pirates hid their treasures and food supplies in some cave outside the fort that was hidden carefully. From then onwards, there was no point to be polite anymore. She returned to the shadow realm and passed all the traps and defenses on the cave until she found the supply stockpile. Homan found food. Seriously? Enemies' food? Oh, you mean their supplies? Good. I want you to store most of them in the cold space inside the cube. Take the meat and all the fish you want, but don't eat it now. Oh, MHM. Silly Homan, I know. Oh, did you find a treasure vault? Yes, after the food. Hurry up. I'm about to fight to finish on your own and come right away. John hanged up again, and Nefertiti got to work. She started stealing all the important supplies like fish and meat first. She was to leave some vegetables and meat for the pirate, as John said. His plan was to not put the pirates in a starving state where they all go to make a last stand, but to limit their choices and stimulate their criminal personalities to stab each other in the back. After she was done, she headed deeper into the vault and started looking for the shiny stuff John wanted so bad. It was soon when she found a large door that blocked her way, with 2 guards on it. She bypassed them by going through the shadow realm, as the door wasn't magically enchanted and there was no barrier in the room behind it. Just as she entered, she looked left and right and understood that this is what she is after. Chests of gold and silver coins like the one John keeps in his vault. There was also some books and weapons that looked rather expensive. According to John, she is to look at the items and make sure of their worth first. She was smart and knew the things she should take, so she started with all the shelves that contained stuff with magical energy. As a mage sentry cat, this was a very easy task. Next, she started to look for the valuable gems that Alina and Julliner like Green emeralds, shiny diamonds, and blue sapphires were what Alina and Jelena taught her to pick. After all that careful looting, she started to take the gold coins. She was supposed to take 2/3 of the coins located in the vault to not raise suspicions, and so she did. She was satisfied with what she gathered and went into the Shadow Realm and was about to leave. But as soon as she entered the Shadow, she discovered a shadow being taking residence in a part of this being was very unstable and seemed a bit of a headache to deal with. Nefertiti didn't think it would harm her, but these shadowy entities do not just stick somewhere unless there is something. She went out of the shadow and looked at the place where the shadow haunts from the other side. There was a single not very interesting chest she ignored at first, but she was wary of now. She transformed in her human form, then made a large axe made of shadow magic, then broke the lock on the chest. In there was a strange object that resembled a soccer ball-sized egg, and it looked quite special. She could tell there was magicka around the egg, but it was sealed by a layer of sealing chains to protect it. Other than that, there was a trace of life force in the egg. A baby. Nefertiti came to the conclusion that there was a baby bird trapped in the egg by magic, and the shadow being was trying to take energy from it, but was prevented by the seal. Nefertiti felt angry at that being that was trying to harm a defenseless baby. She looked into her own shadow and sank in it to the Shadow Realm once again. As soon as she fixed her eyes on the shadow entity, she called for some shadow Atranax to appear around her. They took the shapes of different animals and birds as they gathered around Nefertiti. Nefertiti pointed at the shadow entity. "Get that bastard for me." Chapter 253, Rise in the East 3, Attack. I kind of forgot to press publish a few hours ago. Sorry. Extra chapter. Every plus $10 patron or PayPal. Extra chapter, 5,000 votes. Extra chapter, 8,000 votes. The Coast of Japhet's Folly. The Bloodhorkers and their allies witnessed the destruction of their last ship under the full charge of Queen Potima's Revenge. The flagship of the Dare Dragon Company appeared in their eyes as a demonic existence coming from oblivion. Wary of the flames it can spew, the pirates who were ready to meet the invaders at the shore retreated to the barricades in the back. John observed the island's layout and thought for a while. It was bigger than the one from the game, much bigger as he could compare it to the large glades the firemen dwell in. The island was a natural fort that had only one shore in the west, and other than that, there were only steep cliffs from every side. It was fortified by many layers of wooden barricades from the shore till the fort in the eastern side of the island. The pirates retreated behind a certain layer of the barricade, so they can be as far from his ship's range as possible. John sneered as he knew exactly how far his cannons can reach. Hell, he didn't show what the mortars can do yet. Wolf, Ongium, secure the shores. Alina, tell the Stormcloaks not to interfere with the Imperials during the siege. Joel, tell the same to the Imperials. Yes. Trudvar, my banner. Yes, my Thane. While Wulfur and Ongium acted as John commanders, Alina and Jelena were his messengers and the extension of his word. Also, Trudvar was finally carrying John's banner to battle, as any housecarl would do. The red banner with a dragon and a crescent fluttered as Trudvar carried it in front of all the troops ascending from the ship. John and his battle mages rode on their flame Atranac horses and descended to the shores, followed by the rest of the troopers. Over 600 troopers from the Dare Dragon Company swarmed over the shores and taking the most central point. This was not the complete power of the company, as the ships still had the same number ready to be deployed at any moment. John wasn't going to wait longer than this. As soon as the Imperials and the Stormcloaks came down from their ships, they received what John sent to them by Alina and Jelena with their imposing manner. The scary sight of the Dare Dragon ships made the two parties act according to John's will. "We are ready," Alina reported to John. "Fine. Wulfur, call them," John said. Wulfur advanced to the front on his storm Atranac bear and shouted, "Blood sails, Bloodhorkers, your crimes against Winterhold, its people, the peaceful traders, and all the other heinous acts led to this day. Surrender, and you may live." Wolfer's voice echoed in the island's corners, and all heard it. The pirates were angry to be called out like that. They started to shout and curse back at Wolfer, but none dared to take real action. "Who is speaking?" A voice replied back from the battlements on the first barricade. "Wolfer the Forge Master." "Humph." So John Dare sent his brother to talk. "Who are you?" "I am Halden, leader of the Freemen, and this is Kjar Bloodsail, patriarch of the Bloodsail clan." John observed the man who was talking. Halden was a Red Guard battlemage who appeared in the game, and Kjar was a young man who carried the features of the Bloodsails. "What is your demands?" Halden shouted. "Surrender. Come out there, unarmed. You will be put in chains, shipped to Solitude, and trialed by High King Torig. Do so, and your men won't face your fate. Also, your women and children will be migrated safe and sound to the south." Kjar Bloodsail started shouting at Halden and caused a ruckus in response to what Wolfer said. Halden sighed, then glared towards John and Wolfer. He then waved his staff, and lightning bolt was shot towards Wolfer. Wolfer's expressions didn't change, and he only commanded the Storm Atronak bear he was riding to stand tall and take the spell for him. The Atronak was not harmed in any way. Yet, this was a declaration of battle. Wolfer retreated beside John and didn't say much. John, however, glared back at the Halden and smiled viciously. "I will do the honors then." John's flame Atronak horse stepped forward a few steps, then John took the Skull of Corruption that was on his back beside Bloodskull and evoked a strong spell with it. He cast it on the ground and void distorted, but not just that, Earth was also moving. This was a bit of an unusual conjuration spell. What appeared from a void was a large beast, something that one doesn't see that much in Skyrim, but it was right there in this frozen island. Its body gave off a strong heat wave revealing its nature as a reformed Atronak. It was a flame Atronak Hajmoda. What is a Hajmoda? Well, the best way to describe it is to say that it is a crossbreed between a lizard and a turtle that have a pointed forehead and became as large as a mammoth. Its shell and appearance would make people think of volcanic rocks, but it actually lives in Black Marsh and Hammerfell. It would attack by biting, ramming, spitting poison, and stomping. The best description of it is a war turtle. Here is a Hajmodu https://ibb co/2 jmmkw4 freaking cute. The flame Atronak Hajmoda had the same traits, except it would spit flames instead of poison, and large portions of its body, like the shells, legs, and horns, were all made of stone. The appearance of such a beast caused a massive shock to everyone on both sides, but it was not over yet. John cast another spell and summoned another Atronak. It was a frost Atronak mammoth. Not as large as the elder mammoth, but it was still a fearsome creature that stone and ice formed its massive body. John summoned another absurd Atronak, and this was a storm Atronak T-Rex. The three Atronak beasts roared in their respective manner and charged forward as John commanded. No other being dared to charge with them. The result was clear. The Bloodhorkers defended on the first barricade against the Atronak monsters and defeated them in an epic class. The Flame Hajmoda rammed the first barricade and burned it while the Frost Mammoth stomped everything in its path. The Storm T-Rex was much fiercer as its speed has far surpassed the other two, and it even jumped over the barricade, causing lightning blasts to come from its body. The three beasts obliterated the first barricade until they were destroyed by Halden and his men, but the barricade became beyond repair, and the pirates retreated to the second barricade. John only summoned 3 creatures, and this happened. What else would happen if he summoned a horde of them? Also, was it really okay for him to bring all these ships and cause all that ruckus, even though he could end the day with his power alone? The Imperials and the Stormcloaks realized that John was simply flexing in front of them, a clear message to their superiors about the power he wields and the power of Winterhold's fleet. The only thing that was left was his troopers. "I want that fort." John spoke those words, and the people around him shouted. Drums and horns sound echoed through the island, and the Dare troopers were making formations to attack head straight. The Imperials raised their banners, and so did the Stormcloaks. If the fort fell to Jon alone, they wouldn't be able to demand what they are after easily. And so the attack began. The Dare troopers moved in their Volsgard helms and chainmail hauberk, wearing the stylish scale leather armor and wolf fur above it. It was the style the Dare troopers always dressed in and could be considered very luxurious. Their weapons were all steel, and their shields were tower shields like that of the Roman legion. They moved in teams, as the archers and mages were guarded by the warriors. As the clash started, the second barricade was destroyed by the Dare battle mages and the Imperial battle mages as well. The Stormcloaks served as berserkers and gave the pirates a good beating. Jon, Alina, Jullinar, Wulfr, and Jorna joined the fight as the second barricade fell. They didn't do much except killing anything in their way. The first day was over, and the forces retreated to their camps at the shore. The result of the day was destroying two barricades and killing 1/4 of the pirates. Jon could have accelerated the process, but his motto was leader, not a hero. As Jon returned to his cabin, Nefertiti met him in her human form with annoyed expressions. Why the long face? Annoying, so annoying. She clearly was in a foul mood. Anything you would want to share? Yes, that annoying thing. It is eating the baby. You have to beat it, human. Okay, calm down. What is going on? Nefertiti handed the ring to Jon, and he checked its contents. Oh boy, that's a lot of cats. Chapter 254, Rise in the East 4, The Dark Matter. Jon, Nefertiti, Alina, Jullinar, Wulfr, and Jorna were all standing in the main space together. Jon was making a blissful face as he witnessed what was in front of him. There was a strange black sphere floating in space, which Jon completely ignored. That was made of a dark, smooth substance that its origin was not known, but its black color felt otherworldly. This was not all. Surrounding the floating black sphere, there was a large number of black cats, which Jon was focusing on, that looked like Nefertiti, except they were just black and nothing else. Even their eyes were black, and the aura around them was akin to black smoke rising. Oh, what is that? Wulfr flinched. Shadow friends. Nefertiti replied. I guess they are some sort of shadow Atranax. Alina made a guess. There are shadow Atranax? Jorna seemed nervous. Any magical element can be an Atranac when infused with a proper Daedric soul. It also applies on golems. Alina replied. This is not the problem here. Look at Jon's face. Jullinar highlighted something important. Oh boy, too many cats. This guy is done for. Wulfr realized the crisis. As they were at a loss of what to do, Nefertiti stepped in front of Jon. Human, they do not fluff. These cats do not fluff. Oh, I see, these hoes ain't loyal. Almost got me there, thanks. Jon patted Nefertiti's head, and she made a satisfied face. So what is going on? He asked. This black baddie wants to eat the baby. She pointed at the black sphere that was floating in the middle of the space. And what are these shadow Atranac cats doing? They're keeping it in check. Oh, I see. And what is that baby you were talking about? Baby egg. The black baddie is trying to eat it. Is it inside it? MHM. She nodded. I see. How it arrived, there was summarized that when Nefertiti tried to separate the dark matter from the egg, she failed to chase it away and ended up worsening the matter as she allowed that entity to follow her to the real world. So what is that entity exactly? Alina asked. It is an idiot thing that eats magic. It is normally stupid and wouldn't harm anyone on this side, but babies are weak and may get attacked with no parent to protect them. I see. Don't be upset, Nefertiti. We'll figure something out. Jon and Alina started discussing the matter as the only eggheads around the place. Nefertiti seemed worried about the egg, and her shadow magic attacks were all useless against a shadow entity. The shadow magic was very mysterious to figure out, as there was no expert in the terms of using it in Winterhold, and Nefertiti could use it only by her instincts, so she was of little help. Still, She could say that there are whispers in the shadow realm, that these dark entities are mindless eaters that don't feel anything except energies. So their language is energy. Huh? I can think of a way to talk with it. John narrowed his eyes and thought of something. He and Alina tried various spells, but with no use. The dark matter had good resistance to magic and even absorbed some of the non-harmful magicka. How tricky! It can deal with magicka as if no problems. But shouldn't it eat magicka? Well, unless there's some forms of magicka it can digest. Yeah, I will try that one more thing. John used his aura instead of magicka and sent it at the dark matter. It couldn't react to the aura as expected, but the aura enveloped it and started digging the dark matter and peeling it from the egg. It took some time, but John succeeded in the end, and the egg started to appear. As John trapped the dark matter in a sphere of his tyrant aura, the egg was completely extracted, and Alina took it. Look at that. It is trapped in some sort of stone. Alina exclaimed. That's malachite. The egg was encased in malachite? Wolfer answered, then asked. They could tell that the egg had a hint of life force, but it was sealed. There was a lot of advanced magical runes on the malachite encasement, as it kept the egg in good shape. The baby inside the egg, however, was not formed yet, as if its growth was halted because of the sealing. There was no souls or features, as if the egg was recently fertilized. It may be the case, but the seal seems some years old. Alina tested the power of the seal. Can you open it? Jorna asked. No, this is way too advanced. Even John won't know how to do so. Maybe Master Narina can think of something. Okay, guys, I'm glad that you're doing well, but that thing's going nuts. John shouted as the dark matter seemed to try to break free. This is bad. Alina gave the egg to Jelinar and ran to John. Shadow entities do not do well outside their realm. It may come to a chaotic result if it broke free. I know, any ideas that might help? John said while gritting his teeth. Yeah, energy, it may be stabilized by the egg again, but that's not good. We need to give it strong energy shocks. Wolfer, your hammer. Jorna, a containment chest. On it. Jorna brought a chest, and Wolfer took his warhammer. Not that hammer. I want your forging hammer. WH, why do you want that? Because of the enchantment on it, damn it. Ah, I see. Wolfer ran and brought his forging hammer. It was made of Orcish steel and enchanted personally by John. John took it in his free hand and struck the dark matter with it. Asterisk ding. Star. The sound the strike made was akin to two metals clashing ferociously with each other. Ding, ding, ding. John mercilessly smote on the dark matter, causing more ringing sounds until ripple-like waves started to appear. With each strike, John started to increase the ferocious power in his strikes and the aura encasing the dark matter. Wolfer was observing closely as he began to understand what John was doing. This is really smart, he said. Do you know what is going on? Alina asked. I'm not sure, but it seems that this dark matter is something like a living metal. It doesn't yield to normal energies like you said, so John is forcing the energy in. How is that? Well, you see that hammer I used, John and I had a small secret about it. Not long ago, John said he would enchant it so it can produce a specific amount and quality of energy from the magicka of the wielder to temper the metal way much better than a normal hammer can do. Are you saying? Yes, by using the pure magicka the hammer produce. John is doing something to the dark matter, like trying to establish authority over it. You are saying he is becoming a bigger, more than he already is. Jelinar thought of something and said, Well, I can't argue with that logic for some reason. Wolfer agreed. John was still hammering the dark matter until he started to look a bit tired. Damned thing. Don't think you can do as you wish. I will leave you for now. John directed his aura into the containment chest and stuffed the dark matter and then locked it and canceled his aura. Phew, that was a good effort. Hey, what did you just do? Jorna asked. Ahem, I was teaching it manners. The answer left everyone speechless. Told you he is becoming a bigger S than what he already is. Jellinger hit the mark. So, what did you figure out? Alina asked. Well, think of that being as a being of chaos. If we let it go free, a disaster may happen in this world. I discovered that it has a soul, so it is a living being, but it has no emotions other than hunger for energy. Here where I arrived at a good conclusion. And that is, it can be taught other emotions by using its hunger, fear to be specific. I will overstuff it with all kind of energies until I turn it into a meek little puppy. Foo-foo-foo. So this is the pleasure of taming things. Amazing. John said so with a wide grin. The twisted, evil look on John's face made them shiver. I told you, that poor dark matter is making him a bigger S. Joel. Asterisk gulp, asterisk definitely. Alina. So, John finally found something that can withstand his unreasonableness. Wolf. No matter how he denies it, he is just like Uncle Johnrad, a genius in his own foolishness. Jorna. Beat it again, human. Nefertiti. Other than the angry cat, everyone else was concerned about what John was becoming. Jellinger then noticed the egg she was carrying and pointed it out. So what is that egg anyway? Finally, John laid his eyes on the egg and took it. He examined the seals on it and shook his head. I'm afraid that even Nurina will not be able to open this. Really? Master can't? Yes, this is a multi-layered seal that needs a certain blood to unseal it. The blood is not of a human, an elf, or a beast man. Probably blood of some animal. Then the seal can be opened by a certain method, else the egg will be destroyed. Also, it seemed the content of the egg is really preserved by a strong life force and magic. John, who is an enchanting genius, analyzed the seal with ease and pointed everything related to it. So, baby can't come out? Nefertiti's eyes were about to become tearful. Oh, don't worry, girl. I know of a method to unseal it, but it will take time. Come here. John took Nefertiti and hugged her, so she doesn't cry. She has a soft spot for children, and he understood it really well. But what creature may hatch from the egg? Wolfer asked. No idea, John replied. I think it is a bird egg. Jorna said. Why? Reptile eggs are more like a ball and are not that large. Bird, however, eggs have hard shells, and they need warmth to hatch. With the enchantment that kept the egg in cold, it is more likely to be a bird, but I am not sure what kind of a large bird will come from such an egg. Everyone took Jorna's word for it. As a fire main, she raised tons of animals and birds before, so she was the most knowledgeable one in that part. As for now, let's keep the egg in a good place. The girls will take care of it. I'm busy with the spider eggs, so count me out. Except for Joel. I will just give guidance. And Jorna. So, Alina and Nefertiti will take turns taking care of it. You can put in our private space them. John started giving them some tasks, and he kept the containment chest with the other ones in a private space called Space 51. He then looked at the clock in the system screen. It is about time we prepare for the night attack. Let's go. Chapter 255, Rise in the East 5, Voice Masters. This extra chapter comes to you by the good graces of Matthew Landon. He chose to add a character that will be introduced soon. The night siege was something John orchestrated for the Bloodsails to give them one sleepless night. In front of his camp, John held a meeting with the Imperials and the Stormcloaks to plan for the siege. A small band of Imperial battle mages, Stormcloak berserkers, and dare troopers used the night as a cover and hit the camp of the Bloodsails, causing their alarms to ring across their fort, then retreated immediately. 1 hour later, the attacks were repeated again and again until dawn. The pirates were exhausted from the random pattern of the attacks. Inside their camps, they started to notice that their supplies were lacking. It seemed that the hired pirates started to rebel against the Bloodsails, and a fight broke out, just as John expected. The food they have now was only vegetables that were barely edible. The next morning came, and another siege started against the fort. This time, the Imperials and the Stormcloaks were more organized and managed to pick up the pace with the dare troopers. Another barricade was brought down easily and received a duel request by KGR Bloodsail. Thane of Winterhold, duel me. KGR Bloodsail was a hot-blooded young man, and he was really vexed by how John was always standing behind his troops calmly. He requested a duel after Halden convinced him to cut the head of the snake or shame him in front of his people when the cowardly mage doesn't come ahead. John sighed after he received the duel. He put down his cloak and staff, then held Bloodskull firmly and walked ahead towards Kadar. The fight was held down, and all the sides stepped back. A duel between the leaders of both factions was a very important event. You killed my brother and my father. You won't get away with this. Stop acting like a cliché villain and fight. KJER was infuriated with the word he didn't understand and attacked John immediately. As both of them wielded long swords, the difference between their skills would appear right away. And so it did. KGR long stab was met by John's parrying the sword away and stabbing back. KGR avoided one step to the back and swung with both hands after closing in. John acted lazily and dodged to the back, then swung with one hand at Kerr's neck. KGR sensed danger and tried to dodge, but he noticed the red gleam coming out of John's sword and jumped to the back, yet the red gleam jumped out of the Bloodskull and chased him in a beautiful red ribbon of energy. KGR activated his aura and bloodline ability at the same time, granting himself the needed speed to dodge and counterattack lightning. John wasn't oblivious to the bloodline ability of the Bloodsails. Blood Boil was a berserk ability similar to that of the orcs and was really great in battle, but it left the opponents mentally weak, and here came his specialty. He doesn't even need aura to read his opponent or keep up in speed. His body was akin to steel after advancing to level 2, Ironbone tier of the Dragon Frame realm, not too long ago. He simply raised Bloodskull high and shooed Kerr's sword away with the back of his gauntlet, then slashed down as Bloodskull gleamed with red aura. The lightsaber-like blade carved Kerr's armor open with its mere tip, and a long line of blood spurted down from Kerr as he retreated away, crawling on the ground like a dying hog. John calmly walked to him and raised his blade to behead Kerr, but from the enemy lines, a certain short figure walked forward. Zun. A shout came from the short figure that seemed to be a female, and a force was unleashed toward John. His eyes widened from the surprise, yet his reaction wasn't late. What? John dodged the shout that came towards him with another. Whirlwind sprint moved John 15 meters away in an instant. As the woman's shout hurled towards the men behind John, their hands loosened and their weapons fell on the ground. It was the disarm shout. The exchange was too fast and too shocking for some parties around the island. The Imperials were shocked to see the strange power that they're not familiar with, while the Stormcloaks gasped as they witnessed an exchange by the legendary Thursday M. John looked at the short figure who shouted towards him and glared with interest. That voice master seemed to be an old lady. The old lady was wearing a black hooded robe and seemed to be like the average grandma from the hood, but her Thursday was good. John's interest grew further as the woman glared at him back. TSK, that old hag still lives. Alina and Jorna had the same words on their mouths. That is, Jelinar asked. Grow a Bloodsail, a crone that is somehow still alive. Alina replied. Between the two parties, John faced the old woman and understood her intentions. He then raised his hand and issued a command to step back. Not only the Dare Troopers, but the Stormcloaks also stepped back, and the Imperials felt threatened by the action that's seemingly going to happen, so they retreated too. Thane of Winterhold, is it? I hear your voice loud, strong. You must be very proud. The woman spoke in a strong voice. Why wouldn't I? Shouted your people many times to death, and it is working well for me. Yes, you killed some of my sons, and their sons too, made quite the name for yourself with our blood. At least they died fighting, hateful as it sounds. They may have found their way to Sovngarde. PFT. I doubt it. My boys only worship gold. Oblivion takes them all. But you are a hero of your people. I hate to say it, but Jenna, that blood witch, has better sons than I. What a regret. The woman called Groa mentioned Jenna, John's grandmother. How are your parents, by the way? That girl Hilda and your father, what's his name? Johnrad. John narrowed his eyes to the woman's words. His secret seemed to be something she knew, but even though they were around a large crowd of people, the woman spoke in a low tone. I told them. I told my foolish son that you won't die, and the fire main would come for blood one day. And I was right, here you are. Once I heard about a rise in the hold, I knew. How can they kill a boy the gods on his side? John didn't reply or loosen his guard, but he wanted to listen more to the woman. What do you want? He asked. Hee, you're nice for a fire main. You see, I know that you already know that some of my children have escaped. Would you give an old woman your word to not seek them? John thought for a while. I normally leave no grudge to live on, but as long as they don't look for me, I'm not looking for them. Ah, you give an old woman hope. Well then, shall we continue where we left off? Gladly. John Dare and Groa Bloodsail faced each other, and each breathed in deeply. Foz, fear, Fo, frost. At the second round of shouts, John canceled the dismay shout with frost breath. Kri, kill, Wile, fire, and canceled the death mark shout with fire breath shout. Grunt, bind, fuss, force. John noticed a new shout, and he faced it with the unrelenting force. Araya, unleash, Van, wind. Another new word was faced with a cyclone shout. The exchanges were all heaven-shaking and earth-shattering. The snow between John and Groa has long since melted, and the space around them was too dangerous to stay into. John was not retreating in the Battle of Thursday, and he was gaining more momentum. He countered every word Groa shouted with ease. She, on the other hand, has already worn out. It wasn't surprising due to her age, but still, the Thursday grows stronger with time, and yet the youngster overwhelmed her in all aspects. John was ecstatic, as it was his first battle with the Thursday. He understood that using an only single word is important, as the cooldown time for 2 and 3 words was much greater. It was a way the voice masters used to spar with, but it would also show who is superior. The weak's voice will be broken by the will of the strong. Groa was shocked to see how each and every word she cultivated in her long years were broken down one by one. She traveled many times across Skyrim and gathered many words to learn. She attacked other clans and stole the words of power they passed down, yet her defeat was swift. John's Thursday was simply unparalleled. Even though those two were having great emotions about the Thursday that verbal exchange they had just now made the people around them shudder in fear. It was too mighty to be called a normal duel. The Dare troopers, yet they saw John shout many times. They were in high spirits, Nords and non-Nords. The Stormcloaks knew about the Thursday and Jarl Ulfric was a mighty Thursday user. The name of John Dare was being engraved in their memories, a fellow Nord who sought a great endeavor they all dream of. The Imperials were in conflicted emotions. The Imperial battle mages had prior knowledge about the Thursday but never in their wildest dreams have they ever expected to see such a wild exchange of words. The common opinion about the Thursday outside Skyrim is that of some Nords shouting foolishly at each other, with some magic in the process, yet few had a proper knowledge about the art and fewer witnessed it. Today, they witnessed it from the tongue of John Dare. Groa and John were ready for the final exchange, and their eyes were gleaming. It is an honor to taste your voice, Firemane. Thank you. They both inhaled and spoke the next words. Lockbach Huo, Sky Wrath Lightning. Wywell Tor Shul, Fire Inferno Sun. Groa shouted the Stormblast, and John shouted the Fire Breath. A lightning arc revolved around Groa and blasted towards John, whose shout manifested a gigantic fire stream that shot from his voice, destroying everything on its path. The Stormblast collided with the Fire Breath, and strong whirl formed in space. The earth shook, and the mist of the sea went blown away. People on their knees, and sea waves intensified. The air started to get enraged, and the clouds of the sky darkened. The Fire Breath met this Stormblast in a breathtaking scene. John felt the power of Groa put behind that shout and couldn't help but feel his blood boiling. It was then when he focused the strength of his dragon frame realm and pushed his fire breath further. 3 fire WRMS appeared around John and moved in swirls, pushing his Thursday arm further and putting all what a level 3 Ironbones tier expert on display. Ancient roars came from the fire WRMS, and the hearts of men almost broke. Just like that, the fire breath obliterated everything in its path. Groa, her kin, and all those who met the shout of John Dare were burned to a crisp. The wall of the citadel of Japhet's folly was blown away. Chapter 256, Politics, Peace, Friendship. Extra chapter, every plus $10, patron or PayPal. Extra chapter, 5,000 votes. Extra chapter, 8,000 votes. I just burned an old lady to crisps, not sure how I live with myself after that. Is it okay? Believe me it is, that old hag got it coming. Alina and Jorna appeased my conscience, so I wasn't feeling down about it. Still, who was she for you to hate her that much? Joel asked Alina. That woman was Groa Bloodsail, the previous matriarch of the Bloodsails, and can be considered a legend among pirates. They say that she liked the Thursdayum so much and spent all her age gathering words of power from the clans by force. She was the main reason the Firemen's and the Bloodsails were on bad terms way before the Great Collapse. Really, if you are wondering why she is so broken, then it is because of Grandma Jenna. Jorna said, 30 years ago, Uncle Balder's ship was intercepted by Groa, and he was struggling to survive. He crashed on an island and got siege for 2 weeks on it. It was when Grandma learned the news that she take ship with the finest warriors and beasts from the clans and swooped Groa's people from the face of Nirn. They say that Grandma destroyed Groa with blood magic, causing her to not cast a spell ever again. But that old woman's voice was lively as ever. I see. So Grandma Jenna crippled Groa's magic channels. Figures. The energy channels of the Thursdayum are different from the ones of the magic casting. Anyway, I seem to have killed an important enemy to the Fire Main. Today is the day as the Bloodsail clan is finally wiped out from Nirn. Those descendants who escaped won't be a bother as long as they don't come after revenge. With that, the Alliance decided to gather the loot, and they were all disappointed. Only a few thousand gold coins were what I told Nefertiti not to take. They were not much, but not too little. Thane John Dare, as a law officer of the kingdom, we demand that you push those uninvited band of troublemakers away. This is a matter of governmental authority, and they have no say in it. The East Empire companies have claims on a list of items for what the pirates stole. Commander Fabian, the Breton commander of the Imperial fleet in the regional northern waters of Skyrim, started it with the Stormcloak. Little man, don't think your fancy armor and words can make us move. This is a matter of criminal subjugation, and we fought as much as you did. This is related to Windhelm taking damage from those filthy bloodhorkers for years. You're not denying us that. Captain Skegg, leader of the Stormcloak ships, reacted with no restraint. Tisk, crawl back to the cave you came from, barbarian fool. Huh, go suck on your mama's tits, tiny milk drinker. And the politics started. Yes, I said politics. That's how politics is done around here. Very honest, very loud, and never dull. Just imagine the Congress putting down their masks and talking their hearts outside. The world would have been very fun. Until the Imperials and the Stormcloaks run out of breath. I just remained there playing with Nefertiti, who gets in a really good mood whenever she sees some foolish humans fighting each other. As they finally found no meaning to their argument, they looked at me. What do you both want me to do? And why? I asked them without looking. It is obvious. They don't belong here, and they're interfering in your authority as Thane. Winterhold's business is not for Windhelm to the Middle Inn. They should be removed from here. The Imperial commander said. What? You Empire and your company have kept paying those pirate for passages since they first emerged. You're one of the reasons why Winterhold's condition got deteriorated and got run down by pirates for years. The Stormcloak commander said. They both kept glaring at each other while waiting for my reply. You know what? You both are right. I said casually and looked at them with a grin. I should just send you two home empty-handed with the same claims you just said. Thane John Dare. The two parties were infuriated and shot up from their seats. Silence, Alina shouted. With the firekeeper mask on her face glowing, Alina exerted a heavy pressure that made them both sit down. Apologies, Lady Alina. Yes, child of kind. Man, Alina's status sure makes them tremble. She could just shout, and those strongly headed fools just go silent. That's a politician for you. Ahem. As I was saying, what you said is right. The Empire abandoned Winterhold for more than 70 years, way before the Great War, while paying the pirates for protection, which escalated to great damage to Winterhold. You can't simply demand what you paid willingly. And as for Windhelm, it is no more than the neighboring hold, and it has no say in the matter. Japhet's folly is under the authority of Winterhold, and I am its thane. The two remained silent. Now, as the vault of the Blood Horcrux was opened and the islands got searched head to toes, this is what all the three parties managed to find. I pointed at a piece of paper with the contents of the loot all gathered up. Around 9,000 gold septims and some gemstones and minor treasures, which makes it all almost 17,000 to 20,000 septims. This is way too disappointing for the three parties. I bet that the East Empire Company moved its ships from Solitude to Winterhold with the cost of 2,500 septim at average, and the Stormcloaks are in a similar situation. Splitting that tiny amount of money won't even be worth anything. There are two ways out of this, I said, and they listened. The first, we split the rewards by 1/4 to East Empire Company and 1/4 to Windhelm, as the half naturally belongs to Winterhold, as the one that contributed the most. This is the most generous offer you can have. This offer made them groan in silence, as it was really bad, so they waited for the second suggestion I have. The second option, which is the best option for you both, is to leave all the loot to Winterhold and go home empty-handed. Excuse me, what? The two commanders found it hard to understand, and both looked at me. Exactly as you heard, I said. But what is the meaning of this? Is that a threat? Thane John, I understand that you are. Okay, before you misunderstand me. Let me explain it to you. I cut their displeased words. Think of it that way. If you chose the first option, you too will return to your superiors with what? 5,000 septims at the very best? You and I know that this won't look good at all, and you will receive some nasty comments. Actually, it will be labeled as a failed mission. What I said was not wrong, judging by how they reacted. Now, let's see the second option. You'll give up the tiny bit of loot to the Winterhold administration that in the middle of a major renovation of the entire hold's economic and social infrastructure. You will write in your reports that the best judgment to make a good relationship with Winterhold is to give up that tiny bit of loot for the sake of peace and friendship. This will make Winterhold grateful to the selfless act you displayed and will surely be worth the investment. The bets were all placed, and I showed my hand. Giving me this round will surely benefit them, but there was more to that. The Empire and the Stormcloaks were always trying to pull Winterhold to their side now, as it has a real value. If the other party chose to befriend Winterhold by giving up the loot, and the other insisted on sharing, then it is clear which party will be on the good side of Winterhold. That was what they were trying to do at first when they acted all hostile to each other and wanted to make me push away one side. Now the table is turned. Instead of mommy or daddy, game to with me, without me game. The choice was obvious. Did you just swindle the East Empire Company and Windhelm, both at the same time? Alina asked. I did, and it worked. It did, and we got all the loot from Japhet's folly. We did. Daim. Both of us were just standing there on the beach watching the Imperials and the Stormcloaks sail away to sunset. The two parties agreed to leave it all to Winterhold, as there was no worth to such amount of gold. In return, both Windhelm and the Empire will have access to the docks in Winterhold with discounts and some minor privileges. Also, the East Empire Company will open a trading post in Winterhold. This was all part of what I talked with Vittoria Vici about, and I just made it official. The East Empire Company found nothing they claim in the loot, as all the important stuff were all in the Haven Cube, and the Stormcloak acted with respect, so it all turned well. What is left here is to clean Japheth's folly from the bodies of the pirate, burn them, collect the loot, secure the island, and rebuild its dock for my personal use, and destroy the old fort. I am thinking of making a very big project on this island and renaming it to something else. Boss, there is a prisoner we found in the fort's dungeon. A man came to report. A prisoner? Yes, a Nord kinsman that the Argonian pirates captured on the way to the island. Seemed to be of value to them. Well, if he is a kinsman, then bring him to me. We can help him if he is an ally. Yes, boss. Alina and I locked arms and walked toward the central tent. There, the troopers brought a Nord man, tall build, brown eyes and hair. He looked like a warrior, but I sensed a good amount of magic power in him. Hey there, kinsman. I am John Dare, Thane to Winterhold. Oh, hello. My name is Lanma Sutter of Clan Sutter. Lanmas is a sponsor character. Clan Sutter. Alina reacted fast. You know of us, lady? I am Alina Moonblade of Clan Moonblade. My betrothed John Dare is from Clan Firemane. Uh-huh. A Firemane and a Moonblade, W met. The man made an understanding face. W met. Clan Sutter is a famous clan. They're from the east of Riffin's Hold, and they're famed winemakers who have good relations with most of the clans. Alina explained. Oh, I see. If that's the case, then we are happy to help, I said. Thank you, really thank you. I overheard some rumors about the Thane of Winterhold from my captors. It seems I came across a hero. Thank you. We are happy to lend a hand. We are heading back to Winterhold in a day or two. Where are you heading? Oh, I should actually go back to Morrowind. Lamas said, my employer in Mournhold must is expecting me a week from now, and I am late. Employer? Oh, I haven't introduced my profession. I am a companion from Jorvasker and got hired by a lady in Mournhold to act as her left-hand man for a couple of years. I have nothing to repay you with except more annoying requests to help me find my armor and spear, but I will leave a good word for Thane John to my employer, and she will reward you whenever you meet. Come on, no need for such a thing. A debt is a debt. The old woman of Mournhold is a generous lady and will surely be thankful for saving me as I carry her errand. I see. I will take your goodwill then. The old woman of Mournhold. Where did I hear that title before? I think I have heard it somewhere. It is the charitable lady that supported Servos and his sister to become mages. Uh-huh, right. The lady who helped Servos, the Spider Scroll inventor who we saved in Solstheim. He is now a researcher in Winterhold and is living a very good life. Well then, Lamas, welcome aboard. Chapter 257. My name is John Dare, and this is my class. Announcement. I am taking a partial break for the time being. I have some job application I am working on, and it will take most of my time, but I will keep updating whenever I can. It won't take a lot. 2 weeks have passed since the attack on Japheth's Folly and getting rid of the pirates. After we completely cleaned the island, we bombed it with the mortars and brought down the fort. With this, no pirates will ever inhabit the island, and my project for this island will start unhindered. As we return to Winterhold, I focused on many things all at once. First, I applied for the graduation exam to become a teaching scholar for some time. Then, I will become a journeyman when Loneth returns next month. The second was focusing on training. I started to feel the bottleneck between the 3rd and 4th levels of Ironbone's tier of the Dragonframe realm and needed some time to adjust my meditation. The third thing was the dark matter. I turned it into a training sandbag that I hammer on each day with a new hammer I made. I started to feel some sort of connection between the dark matter and myself while it started to show less resistant. And because it never gets satisfied no matter how many magicka I hammered into it, I called it greed. Last but not least was Winterhold. Fast changes happened these past 2 weeks. The company applied the new sewer system so that the new residential district get done. We also finished many stone blocks and residents started occupying them. We removed the old wooden houses and expanded the market square. The West Mountain Road was blocked with a complete stone gate, which height was over 15 meters. We also installed the fireball cannons on top of the gate. Wolfer was working on the new ballista weapon based on the ones we brought from Solstheim, and he succeeded in the first prototype. And we built a meadery. 2 college apprentices called Rundy and Borver succeeded in making a new mead funded by my company and decided to work for me. The one who helped them was Lon Sutter. He was a winemaker, and he had an experience with mead too, so he thought of a way to help while recovering in Winterhold. He left with some words of thanks as I gave him a horse and money. He kept asking me to visit Mournhold one day, and I kinda agreed as I'm sure I will see him again. What was also built beside the main tavern in Winterhold was a casino. The company started to make some entertainment businesses throughout the town, and I managed to make some advertising for the new Gwent card game. I used the system to dig out some memories about all the creatures and factions in the Elder Scrolls Legends and converted their values to the Gwent system, then started selling them in the casino with manuals for using them. The current decks were the national decks like Skyrim Deck, Morrowind Deck, and Cyrodiil Deck, the Oblivion decks like Shivering Deck, Quagmire Deck, and Kaldherbr Deck. There was also the Beast Deck. It went viral throughout the city and the Whispering Town until it became some sort of a phenomenon. In the end, there was some merchant who made a good income, as he is the only person who can produce the cards. That is me. Anyway, while everyone was busy, Joliner had her own project. She made contact with Master Alchemist Neurelian in his new white file shop in Winterhold, and they hit it off really well. She is now learning alchemy from one of the most renowned masters of alchemy in Tamriel, but he didn't take her as an apprentice yet. She also had her first spider pet. Apparently, her first scroll spiders came out as a failure and became a bit of a large dark purple variant of the albino spider. It eats a lot and doesn't have many magical characteristics except for fast web spinning and poisonous fangs. She called the spider Magenta. A bit of development, I would say. Between me studying for the scholar's exam, hammering on greed and training, Joel learning alchemy and experimenting on spiders, and Magenta and Alina and Nefertiti watching over the sealed egg, another week went by. 1 SD of Sun's height, July, free 197. We received a message from Solitude. John Battleborn and Sviti got graduated from the college and will go to Whiterun. John Battleborn will visit Clan Greymane to request the hand of Alfina Greymane for marriage at last seed, August. I'm not going to miss that for anything in the world. I assigned Alina to prepare gifts for the wedding as I was busy with my exams in the college, but today I passed the trails under Master Talfdir, who was assigned to be my examiner. My scores in both practice and theory were perfect, and I contributed an original expert spell to the college. As an examination for my teaching capabilities, I was assigned to give a lecture to the one-year students who joined the college just a week ago. This lecture will be held in the Hall of the Elements, and I was given a good classroom beside the hall too, so it was all good. Good morning. Good morning. Hello. Not everyone returned the greeting, but I'm not down yet. There were people who seemed to have an established basis with magic, and others who seemed to be complete newbies. I'll be teaching mysticism to the first years, so this is going to be fun. Don't get discouraged too quickly. For some reason, when some of the students heard mysticism, they all frowned, and some looked at the hall's door wanting to sneak away. I can understand why. A gigantic Nord teacher, a difficult school of magic, and being the idiots they are, it must be hard for their little minds. I only need to flick my fingers, and the door of the classroom at the back was closed and locked. The students looked at me, some with annoyed expressions, and some with challenging ones, but I think it is understandable. There was some noise coming from the outside anyway. Hey, I want to get out. A student cut my words. I looked at the young man who was probably my age, and he seemed displeased. Oh, what elf he seemed to be. Don't hold back. You can go outside. I simply replied. You just locked the door. He seemed to be still trying to argue. Do you have to use the door? A weird silence took over the class as the students were trying to comprehend what I was doing. There are many ways to go through the door. First, you can dispel the lock spell. Please don't tell me you can't. It is a restoration spell as far as the college is concerned. Actually, it is mysticism, but whatever. The college had a weird system anyway, and I don't believe in classifying magic. The wood elf was taunted and tried to dispel the spell on the door, but it seemed not working. Can anyone else dispel it? I asked the class, and it became a competition. No one succeeded to open the door. Magic is more practical than that. If you can't open the door, you can simply try to find another way. For example, you can blow the door up, right? That's everyone's favorite destruction school. I said with a faint smile. It was impossible to damage the door as it was clearly an enchanted metal. Another way to go through the door is to use the alteration school. It is easier than destruction, and one can simply cast levitate. I said as I cast levitate and flew up. There is a big window in the wall above the door, and one can go through it. Anyway, my usage of levitate made the students go in awe. Not anyone can levitate. I don't think illusion or conjuration will work on the door, but what of enchanting? I said as I made a magical circle manifest in thin air. It was nothing hard even for them, but mine was fully functional, which means I can enchant items without using enchanting tables, only a soul gem, and everything is done. Alchemy can work too. An anti-magic bomb can do the trick, I suppose. I said as I retrieved one expensive anti-magic bomb. But the best way, in my opinion, is mysticism. I vanished from my place and appeared beside the door. One can simply teleport. What met me was more of that awkward silence. I unlocked the door of the class and walked back to the other side of the classroom. My name is John Dare, and this is my class. Mentioning his name in front of the whole class caused another stir. John Dare, the famous college student who currently rules Winterhold with rumors going around about him. Every student heard about his name at least a couple of times, and he could be considered the top student in the college, but now it seemed that he indeed became a teacher. As someone at a different league from them, the students couldn't find an excuse but to sit back quietly, even with the door wide open. Not only the teacher in front of them was a talented genius, but he was also a very influential man that can't be crossed in the college or the hold. John was satisfied and cleared his throat. With this and that, let's start the class. Clap, clap. As he clapped his hands twice, something appeared out of thin air. A large square plate of transparent glass standing on two metallic legs like a teaching board manifested itself behind John. Most students assumed that John teleported here, but it was from the Haven Cube. This is my latest invention, something I created when I was bored. It is a light-emitting screen that will assist to help me in the class today. It was simply a transparent screen that was enchanted with light and mimics so it can view things like a TV screen. Something easy and simple. John put his fingers on the large screen and images started appearing on it. Whatever he wanted to show could be shown on the screen, and here where the class began. What is magic? It was the first thing that appeared on the screen. Whoa, look at that. It talks, no, it writes. It writes and talks to us. Amazing. Another stir was caused, and John found it amusing. He started the class from the basics of magic with the screen, showing memories and 3D images to various magic applications. His words and the show on the screen caused the lecture to be engraved in the minds of the students. Magic is the general term used for the focusing of raw energy into various properties and for various purposes. John talked about the magic. It origins from a myth of Magnus. He talked about the racial magics like the Red Guard, Shi-Hai Shun Shi-Ru, the Nord's Thursdayum, the Bosmer's Beast Tongue, the Mormor's Sea Serpent Taming Magic, and the numerous innovations of the Dwemer. He even performed the Thursdayum blocking the sound around the classroom. He highlighted the so-called schools of magic, which revolve around the art of spell casting, which is the most common usage of magic by drawing on one's own magicka reserves in order to generate some kind of effect in the physical world is called casting a spell. The most interesting thing to the students was the aura, which some talented warriors used. It originated from a martial traditions of the Dragonites, when it was called the battle spirit, which originated from an Akaviri sort of magic called the Kai, which had some similarities to the Thursdayum, as both used shouts to perform attacks. The lecture lasted for 3 straight hours that John immersed the basics of and fixed many wrong practices for the students, making it a very successful class. With that, John became an official teacher, and the mysticism department got a lot of applications. Announcement: I am taking a partial break for the time being. I have some job application I'm working on, and it will take most of my time, but I will keep updating whenever I can. It won't take a lot. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.